Welcome to the JM Exchange podcast. Just have normal conversations with people from Cleburne, Johnson County area that are doing cool things and helping people out. I just wanted to say thank you to a few people that have helped me bring this together and make this happen. Number one, I want to thank God. I can't do this without him. I also want to thank my wife. She's given me great support and stayed behind me through this whole thing, and also family and friends that have given me support too. Want to give a thank you to Blake Jones Agency for allowing me to set up my studio. I want to thank Carson Luce for graphic design. I want to thank Jerry Lair with bjjloan.com. Reach out to him for any of your residential loan needs. John Bendes, and also the guests that come on and share their stories. Hope you enjoy the conversation. Thanks, y'all. All right, we're rolling.
All right.
Derek Weathers, man.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. So I guess let's start off with the basics, man. Just tell us, where you were born and raised and how you got here.
Yeah. So I was born here in Cleburne at the hospital. Raised in Godley. Graduated from Godley, class of 06. From there, joined the Army right out of high school. Did almost 5 years in the Army, including a combat deployment. So came home to help my dad run the business that he had and everything, and did that for a few years. Then I started at Hill College using my GI Bill, and took a night job as an operations manager to make sure I had some money and everything. And while I was at Hill College, the federal government professor said, "Hey, we would like you to go work for a political party as a lab," right? So I was in the Army Reserves at the time, and I didn't feel comfortable doing that. So I asked the professor, "Hey, can I do something else for the lab?" And he said, "Yes, but you have to go find something." I said, "All right, cool. I know exactly where to go." So I went to the county courthouse. The assistant auditor at the time, Scotty Brown, I went to church with whenever I grew up. I went to Godly Methodist Church. And Scotty said, without hesitation, go see Rick Bailey at Precinct 1. He's our Precinct 1 commissioner. So I did. Went down to the precinct, and he wasn't there. So got his number and everything. He said, yeah, he'd be happy to, show me around, have me shadow him, all that good stuff. And it just so happened that was the time of the jail expansion. They were debating, it was a $22 million jail expansion, and the commissioner, the debate on the commissioner's court was, do we take this to the voters or not? And that's when I decided I wanted to get into politics. So the three members on the court at the time, it was a 3-2 vote not to take it to the voters. To me, that was really rough because they had a great case to take it to the voters. I think the voters would have voted for it easily, but instead they issued the money out of what's called a certificate of obligation, so CO. And it's for things that are mandated by the state. I disagreed with them. I would much rather take things to the voters. I could see their viewpoint that, hey, if we're not careful, we're going to fail a jail inspection. It's going to cause a big problem, going to cause money issues down the line. And one of the things that they said was, well, what if we don't take it to the voters and they don't vote for it? I'm like, well, if you fail a jail inspection, then you're going to have to do it anyway. At that point, then you're compelled to do it. So it's just better to go ask the voters. I know that we have elected representation for a reason. But at the time I felt, hey, it would have been better and really a better case to show like, hey, look at the jail's not great. It wasn't in great shape at all. It was in disrepair. It was probably 25, 30 years old at that point. Just a lot of problems, a lot of deferred maintenance and everything. So that's when I started to get involved in politics. While I was doing that lab, one of the things, and this is where I really learned just everything. I just totally messed that up.
Oh, no worries.
It's the Red Bull. It gets me jittery. I learned local politics from Dewey James. So if those of you that have been in Cleburne know Dewey James and Guy, his son, but Dewey was the president of the country club out at the lake and a whole lot of other things, and a fixture in the community. And he was a driving force behind a lot of the local politicians' political campaigns, helped them out, campaign managed for them. And I sat in his den for 3 hours one day with Rick Bailey and just learned and listened. I didn't say a whole lot other than, oh, wow, that's really cool. But sitting in his den, just looking at his wall and all of his accomplishments and everything that he had done for Cleaver, and I was like, this is something I'd be interested in looking into and looking at. So helped Rick, shadowed Rick, did really good on that lab, by the way. That was a great one. Got an A on that. So finished up my associate's degree, and the boss I was working for at the time said, hey, do you want to continue with college, or do you want to really grow this company that you're working at right now? And I said, well, I'm going to school for business, and you're offering me a COO position. So yeah, let's go ahead and grow the company. Let's see what we can do. And we grew the company from about $1 million in revenue a year to $5 million in revenue a year.
Oh, wow.
Then an opportunity popped up that I never thought would pop up. So the company I was with did field service contracting. So at first it was with banks and preserving foreclosed homes. And then as the market shifted, as the foreclosures started the volume started to go down, we started looking at the single family rental pool and looking at maintaining portfolios of single family rentals. Some of them which went from foreclosure to single family rental as the hedge funds were buying them. So it was a good, viable business. And we were working for a national contractor that basically was the one-stop shop for the fund that had the homes. And all of a sudden, a job at that company popped up at the fund. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I should go let me go see what that's about. And it went from, I did one interview, second interview, that lasted 6 hours, and then I had a job like 2 weeks later. So out of the 40 candidates that they had interviewed, I was the only one that came in person. I was the only one they hired. So really proud about that. So for almost 5 years, I ran a portfolio of 15,000 homes doing the occupied maintenance and turns, and then eventually took over their utility management team. Handed the occupied maintenance and turns to one of the people that my first employee that I hired there as I built my team. So she had gotten to the point where it's like, hey, you got this. Got to go fix this other team. So I did. And that team had a big problem. So had to fix that too. They were out of Dallas, and then COVID hit. So about 5 months into the job, COVID hit. So worked from home for a while, and then 2023 rolled around, and they're like, hey, we're moving our office up 75 a little bit more. Oh yeah, we're going to the office 4 days a week. So my wife and I had just had Emmy, our girl, and we're like, ooh, we need to think about this. What's good for our family? And I did the math, and I would have to spend like 15 days a year in traffic. And I'm like, oh, I don't know if I like that. I think that's a little much. I'd much rather do anything else but sit in Dallas traffic for that time.
I understand that.
So came back down to started looking a little bit around. Wasn't looking very hard because I wanted to make sure I found the right fit. Wasn't looking too hard, but an opportunity at Eating Green Technology, which was an advanced greenhouse company, popped up. And another quick interview, quick hire. It went very quickly. So I started working there in May of 23. Worked there for a couple of years, and then the investors pulled the plug on the project. It is what it is. That happens sometimes. But it was a great opportunity, really career broadening for me. And that leads me where I'm at now, which is Powerhouse in Crowley. So really excellent company, excellent leadership team, really blessed to be there, and, blessed to do something that's, different, but, kind of the same thing I was doing before I went to Eating Green Technology, just in a much different, higher pace. And I love it. They're quickly putting me to work. So I'm really happy about that. As far as politically, after 2014, started going to the Republican Party meetings and really just watching, right? Then I started going to city council meetings and started watching city council meetings, or going to city council meetings. That was a surreal experience because I would go to, in 2016, I'd go to a city council meeting and I'd be the only one there, the only citizen there, a lot. I remember this so well. There's a lot of things, and this is what makes Cleburne so awesome. Sign ordinance, animal ordinance, but try to get rid of tiny pigs, you're going to fill that city council hall. And that's what happened. It was entirely filled. Council, I think, if I remember right, they voted it was to keep the tiny pigs on the ordinance. And then, some of the other larger animals, like, you can't have them in the city. Mm-hmm. So, and you understand that.
Yeah.
But it was complete. The council hall was completely packed. And I was like, oh, this is why I love Cleveland, because people, they know what they need, they know what they want, and they trust those that they elect to lead. And if there was a huge problem, you would have council packed every night. And so that was when I first started getting exposed. I got appointed as a precinct chair at the Republican Party. Did that for a couple of years, and then ran for city council in 2018. So against Dr. Bob Kelly, and that was really my first race, and I lost by 5 votes. So
oh, man.
You don't ever let anyone tell you that your vote doesn't count, because every single person's vote counts out there. Your voice matters. Don't listen to the mainstream media or any of your friends or your buddy that doesn't know anything about anything. Your vote matters. It's your country, it's your city, it's your county. You need to take charge of it. And you do that by voting and showing up and being present. That's how you make change. That's how you affect change. And so lost by 5 votes, and I said, hey, I'll run again. As soon as I lost, I said, hey, I'll be back. In the meantime, though, I said, hey, Dr. Kelly, what do you need me to do? He said, well, we've got a few boards and commissions that need a body, that need somebody to fill a spot, and we're looking for qualified people. And so I applied for the Planning and Zoning Commission, and the City Council was kind enough to appoint me to it, and was on Planning and Zoning for almost 2 years, and ended up being the chair of the Planning and Zoning Commission. And then I declared to run for council again in 2020. And fun fact, Planning and Zoning is the only commission where if you declare to run for office, you automatically vacate your seat. And I didn't know that. So I declared, had to vacate my seat. But it was a really great experience, and really the training, the cases, and just through the executive sessions, the planning sessions, really showed me that it is vital that we have to plan. If we don't plan and our zoning ordinances are wrong and our master plans are wrong and capital improvement plans are wrong, then we're going to hit a period of growth where it's not steady, and it's going to really put us on the back foot. Lean us over as far as outrunning our infrastructure, which is not what we need to do. Mm-hmm. Our police services services degrade, things like that, if growth comes too fast. And that's when it really started to worry me that, hey, we're going into a period of growth that Cleveland's never experienced before. And I don't think everybody quite realizes the indicators that are there of this growth. So we'll get into that, I'm sure. But and then was on council for 6 years, and then Scott said, hey, I'm not running for mayor anymore. I'm like, oh. Talked to my wife about it, started praying about it, and it's like, okay, I think it's time. So I decided to declare and run for mayor, and that's why I'm here today. I want to serve and be of service. That's what it's here for, and help people. That's the whole reason why I got into politics, and I hate that because it's such a misnomer. I'm not a politician. I'm a public servant. That's it.
Yeah.
What I do, I don't care about speeches or anything like that. I want to help people, and I want to help the city grow. And whenever I'm done, I want to say I left the city better than I found it, and it's on a good path for the next 100 years as far as prosperity is concerned. So
right on.
That's where we're at. Yep.
So what are some of the things that you want to do when you're in the seat if you do win?
All right. So this is it. I've always preached that there's 4 pillars that I've always been really concentrated on, that you make sure the city runs right, which is police and fire readiness, which that's a different term than you probably hear most politicians use, because they probably don't know what readiness means. But it's making sure that our first responders have the resources they need in order to come and do their job every day, and not have to worry about their family or daycare or their salary being too low or us not making sure that they're getting a good, steady, cost of living adjustment or merit increase or something like that. Making sure they have the equipment and making sure that they have the health screenings and the health care that they need to do their job. So that's the first thing. The second thing is infrastructure repair and maintenance and addition now. So making sure, number one, infrastructure priority has always been water. There's been a lot of education that needs to be put out as far as what we have, what we don't have, and what we need for the future. Right now, as far as the growth path that we're on, we have water. But if we hit a 1 to 2, 1 to 4 year period where we really start growing, then we may be stretched on our water resources. So we have it for now, but everyone's mentality should be for now. We never know what's going to happen with the weather. We never know if we're going to go through an extended period of drought. Therefore, we need to diversify our water resources. Other than the water, obviously, it's also being able to deliver the water to the people. So the infrastructure, water treatment, water delivery, the pipes that are under the ground, and then making sure that wastewater is in a good place as well. Your sewer, we have Cleburne's on the leading edge as far as reuse is concerned. That's why we're going to be in a good place for a long time. That's why whenever we get into the data center thing that we're probably going to touch on, there's numbers around that, and frankly, just data center usage is not in our water projection. Therefore, I don't really see how we could build a water-cooled data center here. We just don't have the water. So,
are there plans for that right now?
So for data centers, so this is a topic that was pretty hot at the mayoral forum about 3 or 4 months ago, probably a little bit longer actually. We had instructed the city manager to start putting some boundaries around data centers and to run it through the process, which it goes to planning and zoning first for a recommendation, and then they make a recommendation to council. So planning and zoning's recommendation was to, in the commercial area, make it allowable by a special use permit, and then make it allowed by right, which means that somebody could just come in and build a data center in the industrial area. So it got to council, and I said, hey, that should not be allowed. Any data center that comes to Cleburne should be only built by special use permit. That way, the public has a chance to weigh in on it before, and council has a chance to vote on it before it gets built. So there's tracts of land in the city limits that I've seen that are being marketed for a data center, but in their due diligence, they will find that there's resistance to that. So when they come to council and present their case, they're going to have to present a compelling case, one that ensures that our electricity, water, and noise, all those things that everybody worries about data centers, are going to be mitigated. And they're going to have to really come with an investment package into the city that would be worth it to build a data center before anybody would even consider a data center here. But right now, I've said it, my answer is no, because there's too many unknowns. I mean, just from our legislature, they say, well, if we could solve the power grid problem, if ERCOT can keep up, if we could solve the water problem, if we could solve the water delivery problem, if we could solve the noise problem and the noise. Do you see where I'm going with this? Mm-hmm. It's too many ifs. And I don't trust some of these data center companies and their numbers that they give people. Being at the greenhouse taught me that you could have, and they have an extensive MEP package at that greenhouse. So mechanical, electrical, plumbing. So you can have an average use per day of, call it, let's say for round numbers, 2 million gallons a day, which is a lot for a data center, right? And they're going to tell you, hey, yeah, our average use is only 2 million gallons a day. You can deliver that easily, right? Which our system can. But what they don't tell you is the peak usage in the heat of the summer, which could go up to as much as 4x the 2 million gallons. So that's 8 million gallons a day, which our system isn't even sized to deliver right now. So that's why you have a delivery throughput issue. So that's why whenever there's numbers behind when I say water cooled is out of the question. You could have an air cooled electrical data center theoretically, but we would still need transmission capability, a lot of infrastructure, and then there's the question of ERCOT actually being able to deliver it. Also, whenever a data center gets built, it becomes mission critical. So whenever you say mission critical, well, what does that mean? It will be designated as a national security mission critical function and get priority right below the hospitals as far as power is concerned. I don't like that because I would much rather have my people have power before any data center does.
Right.
So all of those factors right now say no data center. As the technology matures, as they're able to solve the noise mitigation problem, as they're able to solve the electrical delivery and electrical infrastructure problem, and as they're able to lessen the water usage to a fraction of even the 2 million gallons a day, it's just a no. We don't have the infrastructure. We don't have the capability right now. There's too many unknowns. And maybe in the future, 5, 10, 20 years, sure. And there are a lot of people that advocate for data centers that say, well, the tax windfall. I'm like, guys, it's not about the tax windfall. You're not going to pay property tax for something that you're living next to that makes noise 24/7, just hums all day long, every day, 24/7, 365. There's already reports of health problems, with these data centers that are near schools and near homes. And if you can foresee a problem and be proactive in the solution, you should do that. And that's what leadership is. And right now, I just foresee too many problems. Therefore, it's a no until they solve it.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's been a lot of stuff online with it, and you kind of touched on everything that I was going to ask, because I was going to ask, are there actual studies of what it does to people's health?
No, it's too early.
Yeah,
it's way too immature.
Yeah.
And that's the issue. Is like, well, how many instances throughout history have we seen? There's a new technology. It's great. It's going to be awesome. And then all of a sudden, you start seeing side effects and issues and things that we didn't know before. Heck, this is a really primitive example, but like cigarettes, right? Oh, we didn't know there were any problems with cigarettes until they started doing studies, and like, oh man, this is bad, right? It's bad for your health. And people still do it. It's fine. That's their prerogative, right? But it shows definitively, hey, it's bad for your health. So it's stuff like that where we just don't know yet. There's not been enough time to gather data or anything over. So yeah, that's just data centers and I get it. I also get the plus side. They're, national security. I don't want China and Russia building a bunch of data centers and getting ahead of us, right? In a technology race. But my main concern is Cleburne.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're asked to lead, I can't really be worried about what the state does because you never can predict what they're going to do anyway. And you don't know, and generally it's not the right thing because they think they know what they're doing and they don't. It's just a bunch of people that go down to Austin and think they're solving problems, but every time the legislature convenes, somebody's liberty is at risk. So they could tell you all day long that they're trying to solve problems, but all they do is add burden and take away liberty. That's all they do. So, and then at the national level, I keep getting asked about national level politics, and I don't have the time to worry about that. I do have opinions on it, but I don't have the time to worry about it. I'm worried about Cleburne. So, and planning for that.
Another thing that I've kind of heard about the data centers too is people, like if they do come near a town or in a county or something like that, the electricity part of it, all of a sudden everybody's electricity bills start going way up. Electricity costs more.
Yeah.
Because that thing is sucking so much of the power that they're trying to get other people basically to subsidize for that. And basically they're paying for the power that thing is pulling.
Yep.
And that's another thing that's, to me, it's not fair. So, I'm glad that you're a no on the data center thing, because that's, it's not something that it sounds like anybody really needs to get into. It sounds like if they want these things in there, that what you just talked about needs to be planned about. And, it needs to make sense first. I'm the type of person who's like, you got to make this make sense to me.
Exactly.
Because, if you're just starting to throw a bunch of ideas out there and
doesn't.
Yeah. And I don't think that we should be paying for, for other people to make tons of money off of it. So
the real world example right now is New Jersey. Their prices have hiked 30% because of the data centers there. So my third pillar was economic development. So we want to make sure that we're bringing businesses that want to be here, that are not going to ask for extravagant abatements or anything like that. And we need a targeted plan for recruitment. So I've always been advocate of, hey, let's bring the right businesses here for Cleburne. And more as I look into the numbers, and we can get into this more, and it'll go back to my fifth pillar, which I'll tell you about in just a second, because I had 4, now I've got 5. We need to really look at the future and say, okay, what, as far as an infrastructure, as far as investment, as far as just general quality of life in the city, what kind of economy do we want to have? Do we want it to be heavy industrial? Do we want it to be a logistics and regional hub? Or what's really going to be best for our citizens that is the lowest and most and least impactful on our infrastructure, on our citizens? So the one thing that I've really been looking at is tourism. So Cleburne's got a rich heritage. We have a rich history, and our location it gives us a huge advantage. It's no secret that Amazon warehouse that came here is here for a reason. It's the location. You're strategically positioned an hour from Dallas, 30 minutes from downtown Fort Worth, an hour from Waco, an hour to Stephenville, which is growing fast too.
Mm-hmm.
The bottom line is, not only do we have a chance to really pull everyone together and row in the same direction as far as tourism is concerned, but our parks, we're investing $15 million just into Lakeshore Park to make it a regional destination. And so we're going from this agrarian, and it hasn't been agrarian for 20 years, but the perception has been agrarian to we're in the middle of a huge transition and really an identity shift. And what I don't want is our identity to shift to something that this city's never been. That's not what I want. But what I want is to be able to plan for the future 10, 20, 30 years from now. And if we have heavy industrial or, infrastructure, heavy infrastructure impact, as far as economic development is concerned, what's going to be the return on investment on it? We need to make sure that if we're bringing something to town, that it's going to bring us the revenue that we need, the sales tax dollars that we need. And it's also going to really lift our small businesses that are here. So it all goes together. You bring things here to help what's already here, and to boost what's already here, and to boost the hardworking businesses that we've already got here. There's a lot of businesses out there that are struggling, and they're looking for somebody to say, hey, I have a solution for this. Let's all get on the same page, row in the same direction, and recruit some of these businesses that are, that are bringing other communities really good revenue, really good sales tax revenue. And then they come here, spend their money, and they leave. That's it. That's what I've been saying since I started campaigning, is I want people to come here, spend their money, and leave. And then I'd like high valuation, low impact industrial. And there's been some criticism. Well, you're not going to find any unicorns out there. Well, there's some out there. I mean, Blake brought it up. There's semiconductors. That would be much less of an impact than a data center, right? And there's other technology out there that would need something like here. And there's emerging technology that would bring that as well as your normal industrial jobs. And we want to make sure that our water stays clean, that it's going to the right places. But heavy industrial and even industrial use is really infrastructure intensive. And you know this. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, right? So you're going to spend a lot of money on a 24-inch line versus a 8-inch line, right?
Oh,
there you go. So if instead, let's say we were able to attract a water park of some type, or a water resort like a Kalahari. I don't know if you've seen Kalahari, like in a think Great Wolf Lodge or something like that.
Okay,
like smaller scale, of course, because it would be here, but think Kalahari or something like that. It's a indoor water park resort. You bring your family for the weekend, and it's just a little getaway and everything. But they have restaurants that also come with it, and the impact to the community on that is, they'll make $300 million a year. Well, 8.25% of that, and then really, if you think about it, 2% of that goes to the city through sales tax. And then, but that's not the point. It's also, you bring all those people here, and then they're not just going to stay at the resort. They're going to go out to the downtown. They're going to go out in what I'd love to see on North Main, which we'll talk about. It's on North Main. That was always thought of as, that's where all the commercial activity is going to go, but in industrial. But that hasn't been what's developed, and that's going through an identity crisis there too. So what I would love to see is more live music, things like that. Bars, restaurants, like breweries and things like that. And, I've always told everybody we're home to Randy Rogers and Sonny Burgess, and we're not known for a live music scene. And I don't know how that happened. We probably need to be, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I would love to see Main Street shift into, is something walkable where people can come and spend their money, have a good time, not have to fight traffic to go to Fort Worth or Dallas or anywhere else and then leave, right? And then our local citizens will have something that they can go and enjoy and do on a Friday and Saturday night. And then bringing an attraction like a Kalahari would have something to do for the kids. It will also attract something, similar to Alley Cats in Burleson, where they would come and build here in Cleburne, and we would have places to take our kids. So
what kind of strategies do you have to try to get these businesses to come here?
Yeah, you can use the traditional ones, which are your 380 agreements, which are, there are some tax abatements that would make sense for some of those businesses, but Cleburne's in a really unique spot where we don't really have to sell it a lot. Like, hey, the metrics are already there. In 10 years, we're going to have 100,000 people within a 10 to 15 mile radius of this MSA. We're already not very far away. Cleburne's already at 38,000. Godley's at 5. Joshua's at almost 10. Alvarado's at 5 right now. And our growth rate is somewhere between 3 and 4%. All it takes is another 2 or 3% growth percentage over a 2 or 3 year period, and we're going to be at 100,000 in this MSA very soon. And that brings anchor retail, and that'll just naturally bring them here. But you want to target specific ones, and you say, hey, we want to have good systems in place where whenever you come, your permitting is going to be smooth, that you're going to be treated, it's going to be customer service driven. You're going to be treated like a partner instead of just a resource, right? Mm-hmm. And then one of the other things and that the city's been looking at is if you build here and you buy your materials here, you get a discount on your sales tax, you get a rebate, right? So those are the things. It's like, hey, we want you to come here. We want to be partners with you. We want to save money. We want you to build your business here and invest with us. Here's what we're willing to do. That's not outrageous. That doesn't take away from the taxpayers. It doesn't put the taxpayers in a disadvantageous position. So, and then you have your economic development team, through council say, hey, economic development, this is who Cleburne wants you to bring. Go find them and have a good economic development director, which we do now. So you build his team, you make sure that there's a EDC representative from the Economic Development Corporation, and then go let them loose and go get some really good anchor retail and some really good anchor tourist attractions and bring them here. There's a lot of people that are out there saying, oh, that's really optimistic and that would be a miracle, but it's not. You need to be proactive about the growth that's coming and be realistic that it is coming. And we can either A, sit back and be, we'll just wait for it to come. But that's not going to help. You have to be proactive about what you want, which means you need to master plan it. Hey, if you're going to come build it on the loop. That's where it needs to be at. That way, TxDOT can maintain it for life because that's where it's going to be at.
Yeah,
and the city doesn't have to incur that cost even as we approach that 50,000 population threshold, which we're at 38,000 now. Every projection that I've seen, even modest growth, will put us around 58,000 people in 10 years. In 9 years now, because 2035 is only 9 years away now.
Gotcha.
So that's what I mean is everybody's like, oh, that's a long way away. No, it's not. It's not even a decade away at this point, right? Planning horizons for most organizations, for those that don't know, are 10, 20, 30 years, even 50 years into the future. So us only being kind of looking out 9 years right now means we're already behind. Yeah. And we need to very quickly not be behind. So, and then the last one, my last pillar was community communication. So being present on social media, just being present for people if they have questions, if they have problems, and solving those problems. The best example I can give of that was we didn't have an AED out at the sports complex. And one of the parents was like, hey, we need an AED. And I was like, we don't have an AED already? And it turned out we did in some places, but not at that particular one. So it got to the point where they felt they had to do a petition, and they didn't. I forgot the website, but it's change.org. So they did a change.org, full-on petition and everything. And I was the only one that responded to them. And then a month later, they had an AED at the sports complex. It's little things like that. The citizens don't ask for a lot here. They're pretty self-supporting. And all they ask is to be heard and to be listened to.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things that I really pride myself on, is I listen to people. And I try not to talk over them or anything like that. I try to make sure I put myself in their shoes first whenever they have a problem and see, like, hey, okay, before I go into problem-solving mode, like my wife says whenever she's trying to vent, but I'm like, blah, 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 let's go solve this. So I ask her, like, do you want comfort or do you want a solution? And she says, hey, I want comfort, then I'd be quiet, right? But it's having that discernment, like, do you need a solution? Okay, now you've got comfort. All right, now what can we do to solve this? And it's being able to solve those problems and just making sure people know where to go to report problems. Being present on Facebook and pushing information out to the citizens as much as possible. One of the issues I think that we've always had is there's voter apathy because they don't feel heard.
Yeah.
And that's just something I'm not a fan of. We need to be better about that. So what I want to do is we've gotten away from town halls a little bit. We haven't really had a town hall, a true one, like 2 years, and that needs to change. I'd like to do a yearly one for the state of the city. So we publish the state of the city document every around October, November timeframe. I'd like to gather everybody at Love and Aaron Field and just display all of the city departments and what they've done for the last year, as well as our businesses work with the chamber and just make a day celebration in Cleburne, call it Celebrate Cleburne every year. Celebrate Cleburne 2027 and beyond, right? And bring everybody together at the field and then give the state of the city speech in person. That way, right after, I can take my chair, sit it in front of everybody, and just take questions and just talk to people. Because that's how you lead, is you make sure that you're present and you're available. And that doesn't mean that you're available every second of every day, by the way. Everybody has lives. Everybody has a job, right? But you're available, and they have your number. They know where they can contact you. So those were my pillars whenever I first came on, and some of those are my pillars now. But there's another one that, with our growth that's coming and all of the things that we have to do, all of the infrastructure we have to add, it's going to cause the property tax rate to go up, because right now our interest and sinking rate, which is our debt side, is only at 2 cents. There's a lot of cities that are growing fast right now, like Weatherford and others, that their debt rate's around 17, 20 cents. So we've kept our debt rate really low, but now we have things that we have to do. We need a new police station. We're going to need a new fire station in the next 5 years. We're going to need to do some road reconstruction. That's going to be expensive. That needs to be done, especially in the Granbury, in the area between Granbury Road and North Main. A lot of really rough areas around there. Williams is one that comes to mind. It keeps getting more and more trafficked, and just every kind of maintenance and every kind of maintenance strategy has failed because it crumbles in a year. So that really needs to be concrete curb and gutter. Some of the streets in the neighborhoods need to be either concrete curb and gutter or something a little bit better than is there now, which is crumbling basically. Just some of the maintenance methods, just with the high traffic that we have, it just doesn't last long enough. So we really need to look at reconstruction too, and that's going to cause our debt rate to go up. We will need to issue that debt. And the question is how do we keep our tax rate from skyrocketing? I'm concerned that it's a perfect storm of events. You're going to have fast growth, which means you're going to have more people, which means they're going to need housing, which means it's going to drive the cost of housing up in Cleburne, and it's going to drive values up. So now you have a double whammy of, I need to raise the tax rate if I don't figure out a way to smooth it out, and I have a valuation bump too, which is going to raise the taxes for everybody that owns a home even more, which puts too much burden of growth on the current taxpayer. So my fifth pillar, which is really my first now, is property tax relief. And the plan, and it doesn't take a lot. That's what it is if we're going to grow and we're going to have economic development that's going to come, people will come and spend their tax dollars, then there's going to be a certain point where our 4A and 4B will have more revenue right now than they really need to sustain, and they need to have projects and everything else. It'll have plenty of revenue beyond what they already have. So instead, why don't we do this? We take 0.5% or half of 0.5%, so 0.25 from 4A and 4B, allocate it to a property tax buy down with our sales tax. If you looked at the overall budget, which our overall budget was about $121 million last year, it would represent a 2 to 3% of the budget, so about $5 million, $5 to $6 million, and that would give your average taxpayer about 30% off their city tax bill, so about 40 cents, about $40 a month. But what that really does is it helps smooth out your tax rate. So it buys down the M&O side about 10 cents. So what does that do? Now I've got 10 cents of debt capacity that I can really look at as far as issuing debt. And now my tax rate hasn't gone up at all. So now I don't have to worry about my valuation plus my rate going up. I just have to worry about smoothing it out for valuation. And it's not to a finite resource like oil and gas was. I've heard these arguments. Well, they tried to buy down ad valorem with oil and gas, and I'm like, okay, well, I wasn't there. I don't know anything about it other than that they did it, and the effect on the city probably wasn't the best. But at the same time, it's really hard to go back and judge them. You know, you have 20 years of hindsight to go back and say, well, that was the wrong move. Well,
yeah,
maybe it wasn't, but at the time, that's who was elected. So they thought they had the best information at the time. Oil and gas, we know, is finite, right? And they could go away at any time. However, tying it to sales tax is not finite. And yes, it is volatile, but not in the way that everybody thinks it is. The reason it's volatile is because we don't have a diversity of sales tax. We have retail, and retail is seasonal, right? That's our main source of sales tax. Instead, if you start to shift toward more tourism mix, then it smooths out your volatility. You may still have volatility in some down years, but it's still going to smooth it out and make it even more predictable, because now you're not going through a seasonal surge. You will have a steady throughout the year, and then instead of dips like this, where you have during your retail, you kind of have dips like this, where it's still volatile, but you can plan for it more. And with our sales tax growth rate, it's I did the math on it, and I based all of this on the fiscal year 24 numbers that we had. Like, we could get 4A and 4B if we had 1.7x the sales tax revenue that we have now. Well, we're already approaching that in an accelerated timeline. I'm like, we could take this to the voters, because it has to go to the voters. Mm-hmm. Any kind of change would have to go to the voters. Well, we could probably do this in 2 or 3 fiscal years. And I'm looking at on a 10-year time horizon, 10 fiscal year time horizon. So we could do this in 3 or 4 fiscal years where, hey, we're now at that point where we're bringing in a lot more sales tax revenue, where 4A and 4B can be sustained even at 0.25% instead of 0.5% apiece, the same revenue as before. And then once we actually accelerate that even more with tourism and with anchor retail, as that flywheel starts to really take off, then they'll have even more revenue than they had before at 0.5% instead of at 0.25. So that's there is a mathematical point where we reach that apex, which is around 3 or 4 fiscal years from now. So I'm not planning just for 1 to 2 years, but this is a 10, 20, 30 year time horizon. The real world example of this working is Round Rock. Round Rock has a property tax buy down with their sales tax. So what did they do? They were intentional about who they recruited. They have a Kalahari, they have a Costco, they have Sam's Club, and they're about 20, 30 miles from Austin up 35. We're about 20 miles from Fort Worth. We're about 40 miles from Dallas. We have a tollway that brings everybody right here, and it's about to be 4 lanes. 67 is going to be 4 lanes all the way to Glenrose at some point here in the near future. So we have all of the ingredients here to make this work. The question is, and it's not about pushing growth. The growth is going to come anyway. We don't have to do that. It's what kind of growth do we want to come, and what is going to be helpful for the citizens and for the businesses that are already here. And that's what it's about. And it's not about forcing anything. It's about having a plan and executing on that plan, having priorities in that plan, and making sure that we target the things that Cleburne wants, not what a select few want, not what makes sense for a few people that own land around here, but what does it actually make sense for the full citizens of Cleburne, not just for those that are here that are going to have to bear some of that burden of growth, but for our future citizens as well.
Yeah.
So, yep.
So, what types of businesses would you be trying to bring in? Because it's like, there's so many chains and stuff now, and it's almost like you go into each different city and it's
the same thing.
It's the same thing. Yeah. It's like everything's cookie cutter now.
Yep.
And so it really isn't like, you go to a destination, but then it's like, man, I passed 20 cities that were just like this one to get here.
Correct.
So, are you planning on just doing that, or, what are your ideas for the types of businesses that you want to bring in?
No, I want to, whenever you have your zoning ordinance in place, you're going to naturally have those cookie cutter businesses that come in. But what you want to incentivize is you want to make your incentives toward small businesses that are starting up. Waive some fees, waive some permits where it's easy to start a small business. Therefore, it's easy to start these smaller boutique shops that add character and flavor to the city, which is what we need. With our heritage, with all the creative people that we have here, there's a really deep entrepreneurial spirit here in Cleburne. And you need to encourage that and incentivize that. So if there's, let's say, hypothetically, we get an anchor retail out at the depot, I would love to see, 3 or 4 local tenants that are able to open up out there, and not just your, traditional Ulta or Ross or anything like that, but entrepreneurs that can afford that space, that will have the business, that will be able to feed off those anchor retail. Like, there's a dozen examples of anchor retail. I don't want to say anything because every time I say it, everybody's like, oh, it's coming. And there's no way we can get that, except the numbers do show that we're going to have the traffic counts, and we're going to have the population very quickly for basically any major retail or anchor retail that's coming. And the evidence of that right now is in the last 2 years, you've had Atwood's, Chipotle, Jersey Mike's, Olive Garden. Olive Garden's pretty big as far as that's concerned. They do have population metrics, and it's about what we've quoted, right? And I don't think that they're stopping either. I'll bet that their parent company will probably bring some more here too. It's just the vanguard of what's coming, the very tip of what's coming. So you incentivize entrepreneurial and local businesses that are already here, and you make sure that they are able to grow with the anchor retail that comes in. And that's how you get character in the city, is you allow people to be creative. You take away those barriers, the fees, and just the bureaucratic burden that gets put on some of these businesses that, if it's just you operating your business and you have to go jump through hoops to get a CO, or it's a burdensome process, you're going to quit because it's really tough and you don't have time to do it, and you don't have the patience. And that's one of the things that, I've heard loud and clear from the business community is we need better processes in place. We've got the people, but the process is burdensome. Instead of looking at raising fees, we should be looking at ways to either lower or get rid of fees, or incentivize not having the fees, right? Because we want our entrepreneurs to be able to open a business here and build the character that Cleburne needs.
Yeah, I agree with that. So going back to your tax buy down, I just had some questions with that. I know you were talking about the growth.
Oh yeah, everybody does. It's okay.
And and everything. So I'm just wondering, as a number wise, does it make sense now? I know you talked about maybe doing it in a few fiscal years, but I don't know. I'm trying to get a real grasp on the reality of that because, me, myself, I've been talking to people for years that it would be so awesome, if the federal government would do an actual, more, instead of doing income tax, do like a federal sales tax.
Yeah.
Because, if we get to keep 40% of our money, we would go and buy more things. And then, of course, your profits and stuff like that, for businesses now, they're not going to be taxed on that kind of stuff. But then again, they're going to be taxed on, their yachts and their cars and their estates and all that kind of stuff, which is, hey, that kind of stuff should be taxed, Yep. So, yeah, I'm just trying to get a better idea of how that would make sense.
Sure. It only works if you can accelerate sales tax. If you can reach that certain apex point where the 4A and 4B are fully funded with at the 0.25 instead of the 0.5. And you still have to take it to the voters too. So it's not a unilateral action that council can just do. It would make sense when the math says it makes sense. And we shouldn't do it until then. And I'll acquiesce on that. If the math doesn't make sense, then we shouldn't do it. But it'll, especially once we start getting that anchor retail, I think that everybody's going to see, oh, we're growing a lot faster. And the sales tax that we have right now that we're collecting is purely from people buying the things that they need. It's going to Walmart. It's going to Kroger. It's going to Big Lots and buying furniture. I would say that tourism doesn't represent a whole lot of our overall sales tax collections right now. So that's when it's going to start to make sense, is if you can attract the people here, get the visitor count up, have them spend their money and leave. That's when it will make sense. And in my view, we will have the population count, we will have the location, and we will have the means to do this in not very long. It's going to be about a 2 to 3 year time horizon. And certainly by the end of 10 years, it'll be here. And sometime within the next 3 to 5 years is when the math will make sense to do this property tax buy down. Because you want to make sure that you're mitigating risk on the downside, right? If there's a down year for sales tax, then you want to make sure that you have revenue flexibility in case you do need to fund something that does go wrong. But overall, the risk of people's valuations plus what we need to do, in my view, it makes it worth it to codify that property tax buy down and say, hey, one of the things that really is one of the arguments that I've heard against it is, well, it's not meaningful enough. $40 isn't that much a year or a month. Well, what is meaningful to you versus what's meaningful to somebody else? Specifically, the people that have retired here, that have had their lives here and that own their house. That property tax bill, $300 back in their pocket a year is a lot. It lets them go literally do anything other than pay tax, right? Yeah. No, and it goes back to your point of, oh, hey, how do we put money back in people's pockets a little bit? It's the only proposition that's been proposed that puts money back in people's pockets to go spend at our local businesses or do whatever they want to do with other than paying taxes. So, and let growth actually insulate the people that are here and the people that have been here for a long time. But I'll give it, the math has to make sense. But it is a solution that's out there that not a lot of people have considered. And Cleburne's at a point in time where over the next, it's not just the next 5 to 10, probably the next 5 to 30 years, we're going to grow. And we're just going to keep going. You could just look at the other cities around the DFW area, how they've grown, what they've done, how they've grown. And by the time we get to 30, 40 years in the future, we could very well have 95 to 100,000 people here. So that's what we really need to be looking at, is how do we hand something off that helps the growth burden of those people that are going to be here for a long time, and really invest now, because in the future it could look like Round Rock's property tax buy down. They're at $400 a year as far as savings on their property tax buy down. They're a city of almost 100,000 and their property tax rate's only 37 cents. Ours is 58. So it is working. You just have to the math has to work. You have to have the right growth path in front of you in order for it to work. But we have those. That's the thing. All of the indicators are there that we have that growth path. And it's already going to come anyway. There's no forcing it. It's, hey, here's the plan and what we're going to be. We need to be intentional about what we're going to do with that growth and how we will insulate the current taxpayer from having to bear a huge portion of that growth. That's what it is. And it does have to make mathematical sense, but I think that threshold is going to be $28 to $30 million in sales tax collections, and we're on pace right now for $25.5 million. That's without any kind of meaningful tourist revenue, sales tax money coming in. So it's only going to get to be more. And as we grow, it's going to be even more. And if we accelerate sales tax by bringing in those targeted businesses, it's infrastructure, minimal infrastructure investment, and huge return whenever it comes to our small businesses in our city.
Okay. I understand that. The other kind of things that were kind of just going through my mind too, which you touched on it just a little bit. When the economy does kind of start, going down and people aren't
Our
spending.
economy's
as
already
much.
going
I
down.
was gonna say right now we're kind of in that lull where we're nobody's going out and spending as much. Everything's just a little bit more expensive, at the grocery store.
Absolutely.
And stuff like that. So, I kind of had that thought process too. And, the other of it, you're saying that these people that own property, yes, they would, start getting some money back. But at the same time, and of course, just somebody that just not really thinking, just spitting a question out.
Yep.
Are we saving money with increasing that sales tax, but still getting just a little bit back from our property tax? You know what I'm saying? Like if I don't change my spending at all for a whole year, and I get $300 back. So now am I going to be spending more $600 on the sales tax increase and only getting $300 back? Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Doesn't matter. I'm not taking $300 out of your pocket a year. That's what matters. It's yours to do with what you wish. It's yours to go. If you want to go spend it, go spend it. That's not really it's not the government's business, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, help me understand how that would correlate. So if what you're saying is that the $40, $40 a month, right? Well, would it be more meaningful to keep that property tax revenue in and also keep that, the $5 million a year it would take in the sales tax to buy down that? Is that what you're saying? My concern is the valuation bump that comes along with that.
Yeah. So basically I'm just trying to think of like if the sales tax increases and I'm just saying I spend.
It's the revenue increase, not the sales tax itself.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a sales tax increase.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
I didn't even realize that. Oh, no. This is
what you're
not a
saying
sales
now.
tax. Oh, wow. Okay. So
okay, I misunderstood.
Let's clarify this for a second. Okay. Texas collects 8.25% sales tax.
Yeah.
The state takes 6.25% of that. That leaves the city 2%. Currently, Cleburne sales tax is split up into 1% of that goes to the general fund. And then 0.5% each goes to 4A and 4B. What I'm proposing is taking 0.25 apiece from 4A and 4B and keeping the same overall, but instead you allocate 0.5%.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
See what I'm saying now?
I see what you're
It's
saying.
not a sales tax increase.
Gotcha.
Oh, Lord.
Gotcha.
I really hope people don't think that it's a sales tax increase.
I just misunderstood.
Yeah,
That is my
it is.
fault.
It is reallocating 0.25% each for and it could be a little bit less. It could be 0.3 or 0.4, just depending on what the projections and the math say. But 4A and 4B, if you have more revenue coming in, even at the 0.25%, as long as you can pay the bonds and make sure you sustain operations with 4A and 4B, which 4A is for the baseball field right now, and 4B is for your parks and rec and those other projects.
Gotcha.
If you can sustain the bonds, sustain the operations that come with those two, with 0.25%, that's where the math makes sense. See what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying now.
Now you get where I'm going.
Yes.
If you have more revenue, then you could pay for it at the same rate. It's just at 0.25 instead of 0.5%. That point where the math makes sense is about 2 or 3 fiscal years away.
Gotcha.
That's what I mean is 1.7%. It's 1.7x more than it was in fiscal year 24. So it's going to be about $28 to $30 million in sales tax revenue for the city a year is where that math starts to make sense. Then you can say, okay, I can allocate that 0.25% safely without violating any of our bond covenants, with making sure that we don't outrun any reserves or anything like that, without even dipping into the unreserved fund balance, which is another thing that we can talk about. So what makes this plan truly viable is the reserves that we've already built up. We don't have to dip into any, but on the off chance that there is, we just touched on the point that it's a down economy right now. Well, then how is our sales tax still going up? Our collections are still going up, even in a down economy. right? So all it takes is a good couple of years. We've seen a good couple of years. I think that was 21 to 22 when the economy interest rates were low, people were buying homes, and all of a sudden everybody was building around Cleburne.
Mm-hmm.
And boom, a lot of people started moving here, and there's still a lot of people moving here. But that's why it's just a reallocation of a percentage of our sales tax, not a sales tax increase. The plan is accelerate sales tax revenue, not increase sales tax.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I'm glad I asked that question because in case anybody else was a little confused.
That was and that's what it is. It's been really hard to articulate it because you kind of have to go walk through the math of it.
Yeah.
And really understand and be clear about the terms that we're using and make sure that people don't mischaracterize it as a sales tax increase. It is not. It is a reallocation of what we currently have.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Right on, man. So running for mayor, if you do win the chair, the vote and everything, how long do you what are your actual goals for the future? Like how long do you plan on staying mayor? Is it one of those things? Are you going to be there for 14 years like Scott was? Or are you trying to grow, to be able to obviously, help more people with, moving up in politics? I'm just trying to get a feel,
No, I care about Cleburne. So I've told everyone that if I run and I'm lucky enough and blessed enough to win and I'm blessed enough and lucky enough to win future elections, that I would term limit myself at 5 terms, so 10 years. So as far as any kind of politics in the future, I don't have any horizon for that. Someone asked me, hey, would you consider doing something like that? Well, you would always consider doing something.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't have that on my time horizon. I don't have any interest in it. My concern has always been Cleburne. I've already been a public servant for Cleburne for almost 10 years now. I'm not going anywhere. I've got 4 kids. They're all going to be in CISD. We're not going anywhere. Oh, yeah, and the biggest thing is I got a 2.75% interest rate on my house. We're not going anywhere anytime soon, sir. So
yeah, I got 2.85 on mine.
Man.
I was like,
we're not going anywhere.
I'm sticking that out.
But it's because I love this city. I love the people in it. They have big hearts. They work super hard, and they, in the grand scheme of things, they don't ask for a lot. They just simply ask to be heard, and they ask, hey, can you bring me a good job so I can go work and provide for my family? And hey, can we bring a few things to town that, we don't have to go and spend our money in Burleson and other places. So, which by the way, makes the plan that I have even more viable because retail leakage. Have you ever heard that term before?
Mm-mm.
So retail leakage is where you live about, 20, 30, 40 minutes from another city that has amenities that people want. And people will go drive there, shop there, and get everything that they want there and then come home. So that means that that's money that's going out the door to another city versus staying here. So this whole plan also keeps our retail leakage down. So if we bring these anchor retail, then instead of saying, hey, I'm going to go to Burleson to do all my shopping, and Burleson's not exactly a short trip anymore.
Yeah.
Right? It takes 40 minutes to get to Burleson sometimes. You keep that here. Let's say if we're ever lucky enough to get a Sam's Club, which we're not that far away from those population projections either, by the way. We could get a Sam's Club or a Costco or a BJ's or something to that effect. Well, now, hey, we're going to go to Burleson and, oh, yeah, we're going to go stop at this other store. Oh, and we're going to go eat at a restaurant there, make a day of it or make a half a day of it. Instead, they just stay in Cleburne.
Mm-hmm.
Say, hey, we'll go here and we'll go to the Garden of Eating and get our food. And then we'll go to, we'll go to Game Exchange and go get a game. And we'll go downtown to the Wright Plaza and go shop at those shops and then go home. Or we'll go to Travado Street and go get a root beer, right? That's what I want to do. That's the vision, right? Is, hey, one of the biggest things that people have asked for is like, well, I don't want to drive to Burleson anymore. I don't want to drive to Fort Worth. Well,
yeah.
If you don't want to do that, this is what needs to happen, is you have to have retail anchors that keep people here and keep your retail leakage from leaking out into the other communities. And then you have to actually stay here and spend your money, right?
Yeah.
Because right now, which is pretty wild, right, is our sales tax revenue keeps increasing even with all of this retail leakage. So can you imagine keeping the leaks from going to other places, plus bringing in all of the retail anchors and the tourist anchors? Can you imagine? Like that those are the two variables that will greatly accelerate our sales tax revenue. So that's what makes the plan viable.
Okay.
Is that we're already leaking so much out already, and our economic development team has this. If you can keep it here, it greatly increases your revenue, and that's what makes the plan viable.
Gotcha. So another question that I kind of had too, going back into industrial stuff. So, bringing in, you're talking about the, I don't know why I just slipped
The
that.
semiconductor.
The semiconductor.
Yeah,
the
something
chips,
like that.
The chips and stuff. So, with the new Amazon building that's being up, so I've heard that is going to be like mostly robotic. That there's only going to be a handful of people that actually work there. So with the whole AI and this, this movement for robotics and stuff coming out, bringing those things in, are we going to be able, to have businesses that actually hire people, to keep people here and be able to work here and spend money here?
So that's another reason why I want to bring service-based tourism to Cleburne. You need people to serve people. You can't have AI. AI is not going to pour you a drink. AI is not going to watch your kid while they're swimming, right? AI is not going to cook your food or do any of that other stuff that a person will do. So if you bring service, if you transition to more of a service economy where there's service jobs, where they can go hire people and they can make a good wage and they have something to do for a living, that might be the future, which is you want to have people serving people, and you want to have, and that's how an economy goes. And at the warehouse, Amazon doesn't do anything without intention, right? They've been doing this a long time. They're a huge company. The amount of parking alone that they put in there tells me that they're going to have 800 to 1,000 employees, because even with all of the tech, all of the automation, everything in there, you will still need to maintain it. It will still need to be fixed, and you will still need to have people in that process. So it's 1.8 million square feet, I think.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was 1.7. I think whenever they brought it, originally council was 1.7 million square feet, but I had heard that I don't know if they added a little bit or what, but it's at least 1.7 million square feet.
I know it's huge.
So you will need, and it's a 24/7 operation. So the 800 to 1,000 people that are going to be employed there is definitely doable. That's only, you have 3 shifts, That's not very many people a shift for a building that big. It's really not. It's going to feel like if you walk through that thing on any given shift, it's probably going to feel kind of empty, right? But that's even with 800 to 1,000 people.
Yeah.
So, and they said that's just a start. I've actually heard, 1,200 once they get fully built out.
When I said
I
said a handful of people, just for the size of the building, it's not, 10,000
That's still not a
people
lot,
aren't-
right?
10,000 people aren't going to work there.
20 years ago, if you said, hey, there's a 1.7 million square foot building coming here, oh my God, that's like 500 jobs and everything else. Or that's like, that would have been 2,000 or 3,000 jobs right there. But that's where the opportunity comes in, is that's why I stress that we need to diversify our economy. We cannot rely on high-tech industrial to provide the amount of jobs we need as we grow and keep all the people here and have them have somewhere to actually work. That's why if you do that by 2 ways, tourism, and then you recruit business headquarters. That way you have to have people for those headquarters. And there's also an argument, there's, all these business headquarters are laying off people because of AI too. But we really need to look down the road and say, hey, we're going to be living with this for a while. And once again, you can only have people serving people, people answering people, because eventually there's going to reach a point where people will get tired of hearing an AI voice or an AI phone service, and they're going to go to the businesses that are personable. They're going to go to the businesses that they think actually care about them, because there's a soullessness to AI that just you can't replicate. You can't. This is going to, delve into the religious a little bit, but AI doesn't have a soul.
You're right.
It can't serve people the way that a person can. And that's what's going to set us apart, is you have people serving people. It's just like in public service. It's people serving people and taking care of people. And that's what's really going to diversify our economy. We need to be intentional about that.
So something else that just been hearing again, I'm just asking the question, and feel free to correct me.
Yeah,
but
always.
I get people were saying now that they're just having a hard time getting people to work, to actually,
ain't kidding about that.
The
I know
businesses
that.
that we do have now, they're like, I can't find people that will, show up and come in and actually do that. So with that kind of being a problem too, with the people serving people, how are we going to kind of mitigate that stuff so we can keep these businesses going that way?
Man, that's a cultural problem, I think. And you're going to have to mitigate that by having a good place to live. You bring good people to a good place to live. I've always said that I'd like Cleburne to be a safe, clean, and habitable city. That's what I've always stressed, even at work and everything else. Safe, clean, and just a joy to live at. And if just putting pride into the city, having people take pride in their properties and making sure that they're upkept and that the city looks nice. And that's what I'd like to see a shift in, is if you've been in Cleburne for a while, and I don't want people to, on social media, there can be some pretty negative people.
Yeah.
But you could see the cities that take pride in their city. You drive through it, and you got flags up and everything else. In Cleburne, you don't always see that, and that's a product of the blue collar working class and everything else. But you can still take pride in your city, and I want people to be proud of this city, because it is something to be proud of. And you do that by making it a city people want to live in, and you do that by having things that people want to live by.
Yeah.
And they want to be able to drive within 5 minutes to go do most of the things that they would like to do. They don't want to have to drive 30 minutes or 40 minutes to go to certain places. You do that by having things here that people want to live by.
Gotcha. So also, like, with the growth that is coming here, what kind of housing are you wanting to kind of bring in? Like, I guess we could kind of start now with how everything's been growing.
Yeah.
Because I'm not really all that savvy. I'm sure there's a lot of people that aren't. I know we had, the D.R. Horton homes that came in and all that kind of stuff. But kind of start off with how we've been growing, I guess, the past like 5-10 years.
Yep.
And then, how we can do, make that better, what you have in mind anyway.
So you control growth by your zoning, okay? And you do that by your zoning standards. So for the last 10, 15 years, when it goes back to the real housing growth started with a 380 agreement with D.R. Horton that the city entered into. It's called the 1,000 Homes Program. And the theory behind it was, okay, we need more rooftops to grow and to have the things that we want. And what that turned into was, all right, well, it went from 1,000, but now we've got 10,000 units that are now on the ground, because we said, hey, we're open for business. Our zoning ordinance prior to 2022 was antiquated, and there was a lot of overlap and just not a lot of it hadn't been updated in 30 years. So in 2022, when we updated it, it all of a sudden got updated with better standards. And what we're going to need is a higher standard of homes, just a little bit. Not what I would like to see is investment into our local builders that can actually build with quality. They're not large tract builders. And you do that by neighborhood investment zones, neighborhood enterprise zones, where you can waive the impact fees for certain people that are building in infill lots. But our growth started there, and of course location plays a big part into it. But once we, the last couple of years, it slowed down because of the economy, and simply some of the larger tracts are already gone. So now it's like, okay, what do we have left? Where do we see the city growing, and how do we want it to grow? And you do that through your zoning ordinance. You say, hey, here are the standards that I would like to see from now on that make sense, that are not so boxed in that you get one product, but that raises your standard, that brings in I think right now we have plenty of the $350,000 to $400,000 homes. Those would be considered starter homes now. We probably need somewhere in the neighborhood of the $500,000 to $800,000 homes to bring in some of the business headquarters, some of the other just people that would raise the median income just a little bit, and give people that are in the starter homes an option as they grow their families to move up into. So that's the biggest bottleneck that I see right now, is we need to have those, and it needs to make sense from the money side for the developer to build those homes. So those are things we would have to talk about. And if it would be better if it were geared towards smaller builders that built those homes intentionally, or some of the more, some of the medium-sized ones that are known for building good communities with houses that are good quality in the $500,000 to $800,000 range. So that's where I see Cleburne's housing stock eventually going. We have enough of the starter home, and we still have 7,000 single-family lots that are platted. That would probably be in that $350,000 to $450,000 range. What we need more of is the $550,000 to $800,000 range, and that's how that would be a natural throttle on growth, but you do that through your zoning ordinance.
I got you.
Yep.
Just kind of get an idea, like with all the houses that you talked about, there was 10,000 houses that were built. Are all those
10,000 units platted right now?
Oh, just
plus,
platted. Got it. I got you.
Platted, ready to go. So it's plus what has already been built. So there are 10,000 units that are, and that's the combination of that is 3,000 multifamily units and then 7,000 single-family homes that are platted on ground, ready to go. So through some combination. So that's where we're at right now.
So do we have any of the new builders that are the new houses that have been built already? Do we have any that are like a lot that are vacant, or is it pretty
That's a
much?
good question.
Are we tapped out or
No. All the there's still some homes that are being built right now. They're like Baker Farms. There's homes being built now. As far as vacancy rates in those homes, I haven't seen any of them vacant. Maybe a few in Belle Claire where D.R. Horton built, and there might be some issues with those homes. I mean, you're going to have D.R. Horton has some issues with their homes and some of the quality, but by and large, the Belle Claire community, I think that's to a minimum, right? Because you see a lot of people. Have you driven through Belle Claire on any given afternoon?
A little bit, yeah.
And they have the pond there, and you have people fishing there, and it's quite trafficked, and there's a lot of people out there. So that's the neighborhoods we want to see. We want to see people outside interacting and in a safe, clean, habitable neighborhood. So I've seen them. The houses are being populated, but the problem is that as those families grow, they won't have a house to grow into. That's what we need to solve. Is I want all those people that are here in Cleburne, they need to have another house to be able to say, okay, I need a bigger house so I can move my family up because my family's growing, or I got a better job, so maybe my wife would like a little bit bigger backyard for a garden or something like that. So those are the things that we need to be looking at.
Planning for. I was just kind of curious about that. Just one of those things that kind of popped in my head.
Oh, yeah.
Because
All the time.
It did all of a sudden, everybody was moving here, after, 2020.
After COVID,
after
right?
COVID.
I got my house during COVID, too. Oh, yeah.
And then,
completely understand.
And then it kind of dropped off. So I was wondering if anybody was kind of stuck, like, oh, man, we built all these houses and we don't have anybody that's moving into them. So
they're populated. That's what happened is they got most of the houses sold. And they did have an inventory, but not here in Cleburne. I think most of them got moved into. And they're still building some here and there, but it's definitely slowed down. You can see it in the residential permit starts, right? So, but that won't last long if interest rates improve a little bit. So all it takes is one. So think of it like this. And the reason that I'm really cautious and want to be proactive about growth is because of the numbers, right? How many people live in a unit in the United States on average? Guess.
3.
Okay. We have 10,000 platted units now in the city limits. How many people is that?
That's 30,000 people.
Okay. In addition to what we have now. Now you're at 60,000 people. That's not going to take very long, especially if the interest rates improve. So that's where I'm really concerned is if things start moving quickly and moving at a pace that is not of a historical norm or steady, and we are not prepared for it, we are not proactive about taking that seriously, it's basically a warning. It's not me being optimistic. It's a warning. Like, hey, we already have this here. not just here, but you have Godly, you have Joshua, you have Alvarado, you have Keene. It just takes a little push, and all of a sudden we're growing faster than our infrastructure can keep up with, faster than we planned for, faster than our services can keep up with. And that's the risk that we have to mitigate and get ahead of and plan for.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Just trying to think of what else I had on my mind. You've been really good about answering most of the questions that I've had when you're talking, which is kind of great. I don't have to talk near as much, but
I could blab all day long, man. I'm telling you. And if I don't answer any questions with clarity, like, hey, like circle me back to it, right? Because I want to make sure I answer them right. That's another thing is I'm not a fan of dancing around things. I'm not a fan of sugarcoating things. I want to be direct and say, at the mayoral forum, there was one comment, well, I don't want to raise taxes. Like, well, I don't either. But at the same time, everybody that's standing here that is running for mayor knows what we need. Like, it is what it is. Like, we need a new police station. We need a new fire station. We need road reconstruction. Right now, none of that's budgeted. And we don't have $30 million in cash lying around to cash flow a new police station. We don't have $25 million to cash flow a new fire station. We don't have $4 to $8 million budgeted for street reconstruction in between Granbury and North Main. So we're going to have to go get that capital somehow, and it has to be through a bond issuance of some type. And I would rather the voters vote on it than having to do a certificate of obligation for it. So they should vote on their own. They should say, hey, yeah, we want to spend this money or not. And it should be an easy sell. Hey, these roads are crumbling. We need to reconstruct them. Or it's going to cost you more in preventive maintenance or just simply no maintenance at all if we kick the can down the road. And we can't do that. Oh, you know that more than anyone, Joe.
Yeah,
you know that more than anybody.
I definitely do.
You bang your head against the wall every day on stuff like that. I know. So that's what I want to. That is my instinct in the way that I've been trained and the way that I work. Is I want to work with intention and I want to be proactive and plan ahead. That's it.
Right on.
And the indicators are all there. All it takes is one little push, one, lowering of the interest rates, economy getting better. All it takes is one little thing, and this city is going to experience explosive growth that it's never experienced before. And really, if you look at the last, 5 years or so, it already kind of is. It already is. All it takes is a little bit more, and we will start really accelerating. And that's the risk, is everything that I propose is a risk mitigation measure to insulate the current residents from having to shoulder the burden of all of that growth.
Of the growth, yeah.
Yes.
No, that makes sense. And, yeah, definitely glad of that. So just to kind of, do you have any other kind of points or anything that you want to kind of touch on at the moment?
You want to talk on anything else? I can talk all day, man.
I was going to say, we could talk about whatever you want to talk about. If not, I'm just going to start asking you questions. Just
Ask
about
me questions,
life.
man. Come on.
Just about your life. Like,
Yeah.
You said you served, you're a veteran.
Yes.
You served in the Army.
Yeah.
How many years did you serve in the Army?
So 5 years on active duty and 6 years in the reserves.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, right on. So 11 years in.
Yeah, 11 years. Yep.
And you said you had one combat deployment?
Yeah. September 08 to September 09. Went to Central Iraq, started there, relieved the Polish contingent there at Fob Echo, which is the Diwania province, basically Central Iraq. And our area of responsibility was Diwania province and then the Najaf province. So what's special in that part of the world about Najaf is it is a Shia, which if you know and understand Islam, you have two sects of sext, not like S-E-C-T, not the other word, of Islam. You have Shia and Sunni, right? Mm-hmm. And Iraq and Iran are the main Shia mainstays in the Muslim world. So Najaf is a Shia religious center. So there is an Ayatollah there, as well as one in Iran. So we were also responsible for Najaf and patrolling Najaf. It was the groundswell in the home of Jaish al-Mahdi, which is one of the Shia terrorist groups. That group there, Muqtada al-Sadr, was the the guy that led that. He's the one that was trying to become an Ayatollah himself and everything. So imagine a terrorist masquerading as, our equivalent of like a cardinal or something like that. That's what that guy was trying to do, right? So, and then 6 months into the deployment, my brigade got remission to the Basra province, which is southern Iraq, and Kab Basra, which is their airport. So basically, the British were down there, and we relieved the British contingent down there. So got to interact with Polish soldiers and then British soldiers while I was on deployment, plus a whole host of other, Iraqis and everyone else. So really got to see, and that's where public service really came from. There's a lot of people in this country that haven't seen how others live. That it's really difficult for me sometimes, and this is me being a little bit vulnerable right now, is I saw how people lived over there, and I saw the squalor and just no drinking water. They were drinking from a puddle in the street, and kid still had a smile on his face whenever he photobombed me. Or there's a picture on my on my campaign website that was taken by a combat cameraman. It was the only time I went outside. My job in the Army was intelligence analyst, so I didn't go on combat patrols. I went outside the wire. They call it going off base in Iraq, going outside the wire. I went outside the wire once for a humanitarian aid drop, and we had an Air Force combat camera crew there. And they took a picture of me. I had candy and everything else, and I was handing out candy to the kids. And you could see this kid coming right, grabbing that whole bag and just took off. That little sucker took all the way off down the road. And I'm like, you little cuss word, pulled the rest of the candy that I had out, and the kids took it and everything. But that's on my campaign poster, because that's a profound moment for me. They didn't eat candy or anything over there. They could barely afford to put clothes on their backs or, buy the very basic necessities that we take for granted here these days. And that's why it comes from a heart to serve, but I want to make sure that never happens here, that, my babies don't go hungry, that we do plan right, and that we don't have, I do everything within my power anyway to make sure that doesn't happen. And just to stress that, even in some of the, you have bad days and everything, but even in some of those worst days, that it's still, some of our worst days are better than some of the best days of some people around the planet. So we are very blessed to live where we are and to grow and to be able to raise our families here in the United States. And there's a lot of people that have just become numb to that fact, that really haven't experienced, when was the last time the United States really experienced an existential crisis that brought everyone together? So World War II, right? So when, there was, if certain things went another way, it would be pretty rough. We would be speaking German right now. So other than September 11th, there hasn't been really anything to bring this country together and to really make us understand or go through. There's been a lot of people that have been through hard times, but those hard times are, there's people out there that have gone through a whole lot worse in that time that are not in the United States. So I feel blessed to be here and to be able to raise my family and, just to have the things that we have and have this city that we have, because it's wonderful.
Oh, that's for sure.
Yeah.
One of the things I've kind of noticed about Cleburne is too, it's not just Cleburne, it's everywhere, but the homeless is kind of growing a little bit. Like, it's just kind of weird because it didn't seem like 10 years ago that was even a thing. But now it's just really, really kind of ramped up. Do you know of like a reason, like why that is?
Oh yeah. All right. Homeless. So yeah, this is kind of tough for me because I care a lot about people, and it really hurts me to see people go hungry, things like that. And really, about 2 or 3 years ago, really started, my attention was brought like, hey, this is becoming a bigger problem. So my question, as with everything in the job that I do, is what's the root cause of the problem? We already know it's the economy and everything else, but what else is it, right? Why is this going up so much? And so I started looking at some of the groups that serve the homeless around here, and one of them is Feed My People. So they're the ones that do the daily meal over at McGregor Park. They go and feed the homeless or houseless, and that's another problem. It's not just homeless; it's houseless, right? So they're houseless. They live in a hotel, or they live in their car, and they don't have an address, and that also contributes, right? It goes to a lack of resources and a lack of coherent and cohesive resources in Cleburne. Everybody kind of does their own thing around here a little bit whenever it comes to nonprofits. And instead, it needs to be more of a coherent effort and a cohesive effort to combat the homeless and the houseless problem. It's not by banning homeless. You can't do that. Like, that's not going to work, right? It's about getting them the resources they need to get back on their feet. Something as simple as having an address that you and I take for granted, that's a big deal, because if you don't have an address, you can't go get an ID. And then if you need to get a job, guess what? If you don't have an ID, you're not going to get a job, right? They have to be able to verify your I-9, right? Whenever you go apply for a job. That's part of it. If you don't have an ID, you can't get a job unless it's under the table, right? Unless you're just working for cash. And then what happens? Well, then you can't get benefits. And then it's a cascade effect down the line. And what we need to do is we need to make sure that people can get to the resources they need in an effective manner. That means that they could go to a central point, like a city website, and say, hey, I need some clothes for a job interview. Oh, yeah, this nonprofit does that. Hey, I need some food. Yeah, here's a list of all the people all of the entities that feed people on a daily basis, where you can go get a shower, where you could go get cleaned up, where you can go get life skills. That's why I'm on the board of the Johnson County Food Bank, because their vision is not just to be a food bank. It's to get people the resources they need, whether it's the education that they don't have that they may need in order to go get a job, or just, getting clean if they're addicted to drugs or something like that, getting them the help they need and the resources they need to get clean and get back on track. Because look, it's so funny to me. I see people judging all the time. People go through some stuff, they fall off wagons all the time. You see great people, you see good people that work their whole lives. They fall off a wagon. They get into something they probably shouldn't have. But it's about, how are you going to rebound? How are you going to help those people rebound? And it also goes back to, do they want help? Like, some of them that will not want help, and those are the ones you probably can't help. So you'll never eliminate homelessness. You'll never eliminate houselessness. But if you have a coherent place and a cohesive place where they can go get resources, and we are intentional about pushing resources out, about helping people, and about helping the houseless find a home, find a, could be a starter home, could be, getting them in the housing voucher system. And, ours is kind of small, and generally people want it to stay that way. But helping them to go where there is something, get them to where they need to go, helping them get a job, helping them get the job skills they need. That's how you reduce homelessness, is you don't give them the resources, you make the resources available for them to use.
Yeah.
You can't just they have to want to do it. And another side effect of the houselessness is the hotel population of the houseless, right? So they're living in a hotel week to week, which does what? It takes away from the hotel and motel tax revenue that we get, because you have people living long-term in a hotel, and we can't collect tax on that. So it also comes down to a number, right? Like, hey, there's always going to be a population of houseless that live in a hotel. That's just the way it goes. What we should be doing is mitigating that as much as possible by getting them to the resources and having them hopefully use the resources that are available. That's how you solve the homeless problem here.
Roger that.
Yep.
Yeah. That sounds good. And, so one of the reasons why I kind of started this thing is to get some of the word out of the people that are here in the community that are doing good.
Yeah.
So, I had Chris Lathers on, and he was my very first one. So this is only my second podcast.
Oh, yeah. I love that.
He does fishing poles for kids. It's not a nonprofit or anything. He just literally puts boxes up, and then, for so long, and post on social media to try to get people to donate. And next Saturday he's going to be out there at noon at Hewlin Park handing out fishing poles to kids and tying hooks and giving them a bag of corn and letting them go and fish in Buffalo Creek. I just thought that was, when I heard he was doing that, this is his 7th or 8th year doing that now.
Yeah.
I just thought that was super cool. He just does it because it brings the community together. There's a lot of people that really help him out that are also doing other things in the community.
Yep.
So I will be talking to more people that, that help with the community,
Yep.
and they're just there. So, that was kind of the reasons why I started doing this. And, I wanted, with the 14-year mayor, leaving
Absolutely.
now, and we could talk about this too, social media.
Oh yeah, that's been so Joey, that's interesting. I mean, you've seen how I interact with people on social media. I've always been intentional about this. So that was part of the communication, is you need to communicate where people are, and like it or not, they're on Facebook and they're on Nextdoor. And one of the drawbacks to social media has always been the anonymous posting and everything else. But the approach that I've taken is simple. If they have a question, you answer it. That's all I can do. I can only control what I can control. And I'm not going to be ugly. That's with intent. Like, I don't have time to get negative about stuff like that, because then it just, that draws your mood down. You don't want to do that. That's a psychological thing. But most people just want an answer to a question. That's it. That's 99% of my interaction on Facebook with people is, hey, why am I on a watering schedule? Oh, well, 2 things. 1, it helps us keep our water usage down. But 2, it also helps us where we don't have to size our utility to the largest load. And if we can keep our utility load down, or peak utility load down, then it saves it saves tax dollars in the end, because you don't have to invest as much into the infrastructure. So it's a twofold strategy, but it's just answering the question. That's it. Or, hey, when is my trash going to get picked up? Oh, well, you live over here, so your trash is going to get picked up on X day. Okay, awesome. That's it. It's a very easy question. And one of the things it shouldn't be, hey, go punt the question to another person either. If I don't know the answer, then I will point them to the resource that does. But generally, if you know the answer, you should answer it. And that's all I've done, is just been available. If there's a problem, one of the problems is either a water line leak, or water main break or something like that, or a line needs to be flushed out. Hey, my water's brown. Why is my water brown? Well, your line probably needs to be flushed out. Here, call Public Utilities. They'll come flush your line out. That's it. That's all you got to do. Or, hey, your pipes might be old in your house. That could be another problem. But here, call Public Works anyway. Have them come flush the line out. Make sure that it's not that. And then, if it's your pipes, then, you're going to have to go fix it. But it's just answering questions. That's all it is. And Facebook is not for those that comment. I think people, if you understand how social media works, and there's some people that kind of misunderstand how it works a little bit. It's not for those that comment. It's not for the back and forth comments. It's really about the people that watch those comments, that don't like, they only view it. That's it. And the ratio of people that do that is probably 20 to 30 to 1 as far as likes and comments to actual people viewing.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a fundamental misunderstanding on how that works. So I've always said, hey, I will answer questions, and I will be as gentlemanlike and as statesmanlike as I can. And, obviously if they, say something really off the wall, and like, hey, I'm not gonna get into that.
Don't
right?
engage, yeah.
Yeah, or hey, that's not fair. And if you want to sit down and speak about it, I'll go buy you a beer or something. And I've done that. He passed on, but I had a gentleman that, we got into a pretty good little argument on Facebook about it. And I said, look, clearly we don't agree. How about this? I'll go meet you at Grump's for a beer. And he said, okay. 5:30 on a Thursday. And at 5:30 on a Thursday, I sat down with that gentleman and we had a beer and hashed it out. So that's the leader I want to be, right? Is there's only so much you can do on Facebook, right? There's only so much you could say, like, hey, you know what? Let's go talk about it. And hey, I'm going to be out in the neighborhoods. I'm going to be engaging with people. I'm going to have everybody. I put my number on Facebook all the time. I wish my phone would ring more. I really would, because I thought I would get all kinds of spam calls or, citizens calling or people calling with questions, but I don't. I don't get a whole lot of calls at all, really, about that. And I really wish that they would, because I love helping people and answering their questions.
Yeah.
So that's what social media is for. And there's some pretty rough people on Facebook, but I don't care. I mean, they can be as rough as they want to. That's really their problem, not mine.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be me. And my wife told me that a long time ago. There was an interaction probably, I think it was like right as we had gotten married on Facebook, where I got into it with somebody, and this is before I got elected, or I think it was whenever I was trying to run for council. And it was a really negative experience. My wife's like, why do you keep butting heads with those people? Like, nobody cares about what that guy has to say. And I'm like, well, maybe some do. But, he's wrong and everything else. And she's like, well, not that many people really comment on that stuff. It's all about who's watching it, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, that's right. I can only control how I react.
Mm-hmm.
I can't control what they do or how they react. So that's what I do, is I just make sure that I answer the question. And if we come to an impasse, like, hey, we're going to agree to disagree on this. And if you want to talk about it, second and fourth Tuesdays at 5 o'clock, or here's my number, or here's my address, you can come by. We can talk about it. So that's the way I've always been about it. That's my social media strategy.
Yeah.
101.
Yeah. To me, I always say that it's not real. The comment section, or it's not a real place. Because people just say the most outlandish things.
They will.
It's trolls.
Well, you
this and that.
can ask. Look, I don't mind saying this. You can ask our third mayoral candidate. He said something pretty wild on Facebook, and at the forum, I gave him the business about what I thought about that, because the way that I see it is, I'm not going to say something online that I wouldn't say to you in person.
Mm-hmm.
And people have gotten really comfortable with that, with saying outlandish things that they would never say to somebody in person.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, there's never been consequence, because they don't go out or they don't comment on anything. And that's why I don't really, and it goes back to your point, it's not real, because they would never say it in person. So why would I let it get to me now? There's no reason for it. You answer the question, even if it's so negative and bad and blah, 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 or they're trying to, trap or bait you into something. Like, there was a comment. I had to miss the audit committee meeting a couple of weeks ago because I had to work. And I'm like, hey, I got a job. It's a 9 to 5. It's not really 9 to 5. I work like 7 to 8, sometimes 6. There was one day I worked 4 a.m. to midnight, because of how, all the jobs we had going on and everything. And by the time I got to midnight, I was like, oh man, it's midnight. I need to go to bed. But I work, and I'm going to miss some stuff. And so, but they asked, like, well, is it true that you missed the audit committee meeting? Yeah, I had to work. That's the answer. They asked a question. That's the answer.
Yeah.
And I know what they were trying to do. They were like, oh, you're not going to be there, blah, blah, blah. They're trying to stir the pot. That's okay. That's fine. I'll answer the question. I have nothing to hide. There's literally nothing. If I put my address, my phone number, my email address, everything is online. Everything's displayed. That's why that's why it's on my campaign sign. Accountability, transparency, and proven leadership. That's it.
Fun fact, you said you worked for Powerhouse. My mom actually used to work there.
Really?
Yeah.
When did she work there?
I think she was let go about, it's probably been about a year now.
Gotcha.
Or pretty close to it.
Yeah.
They had, did some outsourcing, I guess. And she was one of the last ones that stayed on for her position. It was like accounting, I believe, is what it was.
Gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, she worked there, and I passed by, coming back from work almost every day, because I take John Jones.
I never knew what it was. It's been there for 20 years, and
yeah,
I'd pass by there every day. I thought it was a gym. Never knew what it was, and then saw the job posting. I'm like, oh, maybe they're a recruiting firm or something. They're looking for something. No, they're not. Legit, got a lot of employees. I didn't even realize how many they had, and it it's been a good place to work so far.
What do you do for him?
I'm an associate director on the MSCS side, so the multi-site rollouts and like refresh services. So,
Okay.
Yep, and it's I won't say what account I'm on or anything like that, but
Yeah,
basically, we have a lot of big chain grocery store clients and stuff like that. That's about as much as I can divulge, but I mean, you know what it is. I'm sure your mom told you, so
Yep.
you could guess what it is, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I do.
Gotcha.
So,
Gotcha.
Yep. And it's right now I've got a team of, like 10 now. So, and I just started there in December. So it's going pretty quick.
Yeah.
It is very fast paced, but I love it. The people are great. Really supportive leadership. So, they're a business like anybody else. They got to make decisions like everybody else, but by and large, like, even when they have to make those decisions, you could tell it really affects. They're not, some of these corporate entities are. You could kind of be like, oh yeah, we're really sad about this anyway. Like,
Yeah.
they're not like that. It really does affect them. They're. Well, I would say that of all the places I've ever worked, Powerhouse is the most human that I've ever worked at.
Oh, okay.
So it's in so many ways, and it's wonderful. It's a really wonderful place to work. So I'm blessed to I didn't think I'd find something this close to home in Cleveland or anything like that matched my skill set. Thought I'd have to get another remote. I didn't want another remote job. I wanted to go into an office and interact with people, and found Powerhouse. And it was really good.
Right on. So besides working and trying to serve people, what other kind of hobbies and stuff do you do? What do you like to do for fun?
I like to garden. I haven't been able to get my garden going yet this year because of everything going on, but I picked up gardening at the greenhouse, and my dad had a garden whenever I was growing up, and it's cool to grow your own food.
Oh, yeah.
And then be able to share that with other people, And I had big plans this year of, doubling the size of my surface garden and everything, and then, life gets away, right?
Yeah.
So, and now it's almost mid-April, and I'm like, oh man, I need to get some soil in here and plant some stuff so I can have growth in May and June. So, I figured, either way, after May 2nd, I'll have some time. So,
Yeah.
It's just getting through this busy season, but playing, it's cliche, but man, really being intentional about spending time with my kids and just taking them to experience things. That's been really fun. I mean, the kids they're at a really fun age right now where, I got a 7, almost 4, and then 15-month-old twins, and they're kids. They want to go to the river, or they want to go out and go to Fossil Rim, or they want to go to the trampoline park, stuff like that, or they just want to run around and be kids,
Yeah.
right? And get dirty and ride on walls, and then I got to go wash them and everything. But and this will I'm sure people have probably scrolled through my Facebook and seen this, but whenever I was in middle school, and this is me being a huge nerd right now, so everybody's going to know about it, but as I said, I have nothing to hide. Yu-Gi-Oh! Have you ever heard of that? So it's a trading card game, and I played that for a while, and I got into judging it. So I judged a 500 person tournament, had judged it a few years ago. So really enjoy people interaction and stuff like that, and that was a really good experience. I've judged multiple of those events. So the biggest one that I've judged at, and wasn't the head judge of it, but was like 1,200 people. So 1,200 participants. So I also, just like everybody else, like, we'll make an occasional trip up to WinStar to go, go hit the casino and everything else. Not any kind of like, hobby or anything like that, but just to get away for the weekend or something like that. And that's basically it. The gardening is the biggest thing right now. So,
Gotcha.
but yeah, that's something to take the mind off work for a little while and just relax, play with the kids. That's it. So, gardening does take up a lot of, it's a hobby,
yeah.
right? So, I'm also, we got a smoker now. So eventually I'll get into like, I have yet to smoke a brisket yet, but, the person that knows how to cook a really good brisket is Andrea Bedecker. She can cook a great brisket, and learn from her, right? So I want to try one day and see if I can do it or not. So I like to cook whenever I have time. I got a Blackstone, and I like to grill steak and everything, but just don't have a lot of time sometimes. So that's otherwise, I mean, just gardening is one of my is my main hobby right now.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I like to cook. I do pretty much most of the cooking in our house. My wife's the baker. She likes baking cookies.
She getting the sourdough and stuff.
So we're about to start some sourdough. We've got the
starter,
the little jars and stuff
Yeah.
that you get to start it.
Yeah.
We haven't made a starter yet, but we're supposed to be doing that this weekend. Is one of those things. But
Yep.
she's getting more stuff to kind of go in line with that. But she loves baking like desserts and stuff. It's kind of funny when we go out. We usually like share an appetizer, and then I get a meal, and she gets dessert.
Ah, gotcha. Yep.
And so she's got a sweet tooth. But I grew up in the country, so we had, my dad was always cooking something on the smoker and had it going a lot. So I kind of learned from watching him, and then when I got my own place, he gave me the old smoker that they had, so I started using it till it fell apart. And I was working odd jobs and stuff for like a while, so I was gone on the weekends. So I ended up getting rid of my stick burner smoker, and I got a Traeger, so I could be able to control it from the house or wherever I was,
like remotely, right?
Remotely,
yeah.
And I do want to go back and get another stick burner now that I have a little bit more time to do that. But it is nice that you don't have to stay up for 30 hours straight or 24 hours straight stroking a fire. But
that's the only thing I'm like, oh, I don't know if I could do that. I've got it. So my neighbor, previous neighbor that moved out, he was trying to get rid of his Oklahoma Joe, and he had a big one, and he gave it to me.
Oh wow!
So he gave me an Oklahoma Joe, and I still haven't used it yet to actually do anything. But he has a cover and everything, so really good shape. I gotta find time to do it. So but I was like, he's like, yeah, I gotta get rid of this thing. I don't want to take it with me. What is it? And he just rolled it out, and I'm like, I'll take that.
That's an awesome
Come on,
gift. Yeah.
Let's put that right back there, right next to the sunroom. There we go. And now I'll eventually have time to use it. But in our Blackstone, we had a story about our Blackstone too. We found it on Facebook. It's the 4-burner Blackstone, and this lady had it sitting in her garage forever, and she sold it to us for $225.
Oh wow!
So yeah, normally they're like $400 or something like that.
Yeah, mine was $300.
Yeah, we got a really good deal on it now, and we use that thing for. It's nice to be able to cook breakfast for 10 people in 5 minutes, right? So we
no
just
joke.
crack the eggs, get everything built, and have breakfast ready to go in 10 minutes. It's really awesome.
Yeah, I've had mine for like 5 years now, and I use it so much it's starting to fall apart. I'm gonna have to invest in another one pretty soon. I'm taking the thing off of it though because it's already seasoned.
Really you can't. Yep, absolutely. It's
like
so hard to
cooking on
season
glass. Yeah,
every time that and I was never good at. I didn't season mine like the YouTube videos you see. It's like pure black, like all the way around, and I don't think I had mine balanced enough, so it like the edges still had a little silver on it, but it doesn't matter. It cooks great. So. And that's you don't want to be enemy of good is perfect, right? Like you just cook on the dang thing and it'll be fine. So,
yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah, love that. It's my favorite. It's one of my favorite things to cook on.
Right on. So your kids in any kind of hobbies or anything like that? I think I've ran into you once when I was leaving a buddy's daughter's dance recital, and I think you were.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So my daughter she was going to Wonderland. We're gonna take her again. My son's in basketball, and we're going to take him back to karate. He kind of like bounces back and forth. We always said we didn't want to be those parents that like drug their kids into sports or anything. We want them to do it because they want to do it.
Yeah.
And, my son played basketball during this past season. And then my daughter, she wants to do ballet. So we do that. And then once the twins we tried to do soccer with my son, but we got to the soccer fields and the playground. They had the playground there at the soccer fields too. Every time we try to get him on the soccer field, he'd just go run to the playground. And I'm like, all right, well, this isn't working. And every time we try to take him off the playground, he'd just scream bloody murder. And we're like, oh, man. Well, after 3 times of trying to do that, we're like, okay, maybe soccer. And he's just not ready for soccer yet.
Yeah.
So, but basketball, he did a really good job in. It was his first year. He'll he'll play basketball again whenever the season comes around, and our daughter will put her back into ballet probably June, July timeframe. So
Right on.
that's what they do. They love to do it.
Where do y'all do karate at?
What's it called? Texas Black Belt Academy.
Okay.
Yeah. So with Master Fernando and some of those other guys there. So we paused for a little bit, but our son's like, hey, I want to go back to karate. Okay, cool. He'd already gotten to his orange belt, I think. So he just sometimes you could see he was kind of getting a little like disinterested. And our son, he has mild form of autism, so it's hard to keep him concentrated sometimes. But especially over the last 6 months, he's really started to, concentrate more on his, just everything that he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really good, and he's ready to go back. So we'll take him back. It's really good. He's excited.
Right on. Yeah, I've been a part of Rogue MMA for a long time. I'm kind of dealing with an injury right now. I kind of messed up my back and ribs. But they have kids classes and stuff like that too.
Nice,
Jason
okay.
Jones is also.
Where's this at?
Do you know where the Thai restaurant is?
Yeah.
On Main?
Yeah.
It's right across from that. So it's the
Oh,
same
okay.
building as Fun in the Sun with the boat store.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's in the same building there. But Jason Jones, he's a police officer here in town as well.
Yeah.
And he's I think it's a 7th degree black belt, but I could be wrong about that. And he's in multiple arts as well.
Yeah.
So he kind of just puts everything that he saw that works
Into one Yeah.
thing. And so they do I believe the schedule is 1 week's striking and then 1 week's grappling. So
Nice,
when you
okay.
go the next week, so you get to learn kind of both forms of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did jiu-jitsu there for a little bit before I ended up hurting myself, and then I was kind of just trying to go back.
Yep.
And kept making myself worse because every time I felt good enough to go, I would go, and then I haven't been.
Hurt again.
Yeah, I haven't been in almost a year now, but I'm working through it, trying to get back. But yeah, if you ever wanted to check out that place, it's a really good gym and very, very knowledgeable. But yeah, I've always been really interested in martial arts and stuff like that. So
Yep.
that's pretty cool, man.
Yep. Absolutely. And the equivalent that I have done to martial arts, it's not really, is like the level 1 combatives in the Army. So I never went above that. So that's your general certification.
Yeah.
Like you have to pass that. And yeah, that was fun. I almost got choked out. I had to tap my first one. And then the second time I did it, you go against, you've probably done this before, like when you go against somebody that is like, you could probably just 3 seconds and it's done, and you don't want to embarrass them. So I went against somebody like that whenever I was in individual training, and just kind of laid on top of him and just put him in the triangle hold and just hey, all right, tap, all right, we're good, right? So, but I had him had him pinned down for probably 30 to 45 seconds, and my drill sergeant was like, "Bob, do something," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I you don't want to do something like that. It's not a bad experience or anything like that. It's brutal. That's not me. So, but otherwise, there's guys. Oh man, I see some of these guys doing jiu-jitsu over at Texas Black Belt Academy, and I'm like, man, that dude could roll me up in about 3 seconds, and I'm a big dude, so don't want to do that. Or like Fernando, I probably outweigh him by 100 pounds, and he could roll me up in about 2 seconds and make me tap. Oh yeah, no illusions about that. I'm not in good enough shape right now to do anything like that. So, oh yeah, eventually one day I may want to do that, keep me in shape or something like that, but not right now. You just go with the boy right now. So they keep, whenever you go, they're like, "Oh, you want to go to the adult class?" And I'm almost like, "Ooh, I might want to. We'll see how this running for mayor thing goes." I'm either way, I might have some time after May 2nd. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
That's true, right?
Definitely.
All right, man. Well, you got any other points or anything you want to talk about?
No, I really enjoyed coming on this. This is fun. I mean, we've been here for almost 2 hours already. It doesn't feel like it at all.
It goes pretty quick.
It goes really quick, right? And just talking. I mean, it's going back to, remember the live music thing. I'm a huge country music fan, and mainly 90s country and George Strait and everything. George Strait's my favorite country artist, and Blue Clear Sky, my favorite country song. So that's kind of odd for some people, right? But it's my favorite. And just that would be so awesome to have here. Just
Yeah, I agree.
Just
So
a really, really cool music scene and everything. That would be awesome.
me and my wife, that's what we love to do the most is
Yeah.
go see live music and go to concerts and stuff, and people watch and have a good time.
That's the fun part, right? People watching. Oh yeah.
Well, it's just I find it so freeing when you see somebody out there that's just having a good time and being themselves,
them.
like nobody
Yeah.
else is
Yep.
around, and
Yep.
they're just there by themselves almost.
Yep.
It's kind of cool watching that.
Yeah, you can see like it's people watching is so interesting, especially knowing a little bit how people tick and everything like that.
Right,
And
yeah.
Just you could see who's nervous about being there and who probably shouldn't be there with the certain person that they're with, and it's just funny watching them like be really wound up and uptight. And, you're just sitting there just drinking, having a good time, or even in just like that. It's like, oh man, because I'm not a dancer or anything. I have 2 left feet. There's no way. Like my wife, so my wife is Hispanic and her parents are from Mexico, and they dance and everything else. And, my kids are half Hispanic, and you can see it in them whenever they start dancing and everything. They're good at it. I'm like, I'm not a dancer. I can't dance.
Oh
So-
man, I started singing so I didn't have to dance.
Oh, I hear you. I can't sing either. Don't ask me to sing. I'm not we're not doing that. So that's definitely not one of my talents. So
But yeah, I would love to see some more live music and stuff like that.
Yeah.
When Randy came back and was playing the Depot, I really thought it would be more packed than it was, though.
Yeah. Yep.
I was kind of surprised.
Well, it's the first year, right? It's
Yeah.
the first time they did it, and it takes time to build stuff like that. That's
That's
why.
true, I
That's what
guess.
I mean. Yeah, you gotta be intentional about it too. So, plan for it. It's everything I always stress. If you plan for it and you work with intention, then generally it's going to happen. Especially if it's what everybody wants.
Well, I know too. Like I really enjoyed like the downtown farmers market.
Oh yeah. Yep.
For the free concerts. I mean, that was a lot of fun. You could just kind of bring a little cooler in your lawn chair and
Yep.
and hang out, and they had food trucks and stuff like that going.
I'd like to see that return too.
Yeah,
Yep.
me too. I would really like to
Yep.
see that come back.
We think some of that reallocation went to the Chisholm Trail Museum whenever they had to, they went through a period that was pretty rough as far as a lot of expenses hit at the same time. And, some of the jail labor went away and all that. But, Chisholm Trail Museum is a huge tourism driver right now. So I think here in the next few years, I'd love to see that music series return, especially as our we could take a little bit of that sales tax revenue and allocate it back to that again. So that'd be something I'd love to see.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it would help the community too come together and
Yep.
everybody.
Absolutely.
And also, it seems like there is more and more like food trucks and stuff that are kind of popping up. I mean, it would be cool to have all that because that's going to bring revenue in for them. And
Well, Casey Waits, he had that food truck parked for a little while, and I'd like to see us be more intentional about supporting those types of businesses.
Yeah.
That's where your entrepreneurs start. And the state passed the state food truck license, which that's fine with me. I'm okay with that as long as they do it right and they actually do the job. But I would like to see us have spots for food trucks and make sure that it's a conducive environment where it doesn't. You don't want it to be a nuisance, right? But at the same time, if you put guardrails around it and you watch it, then it's a great thing for the city. So, and we have a bunch of them now. So, I would just like to see a little bit more. That's it.
yeah, I would. One of the things that I probably complain about the most about town is we don't have like a patio place where you can kind of go and get a beer and smoke a cigar on a patio
Yep.
somewhere.
Yep.
Watch football, watch maybe UFC fights, whatever it is. I would love to see something like that too. I mean, we go to the break room,
Yeah.
a lot. It's not that far. It's kind of a drive. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of nice just sitting outside. Me and my wife would just take Domino's and, kind of eat some appetizers, have a few drinks, and I'll smoke a cigar and just
it's
kind of
nice.
chill out,
Yep.
and they have a little pond there too where kids can fish and stuff like that.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I would like to see more of that here in town as well.
Oh yeah, me too. And that's part of this, right? Is how do you want to leave it? What do you want Cleveland to be? And that's the soul. It's there. We just gotta cultivate it. We gotta encourage it. We gotta work with intent and move it in the right direction. That's with everything. Everything that you plan on. Everything. So it's what Cleveland's asked for. Like, hey, what can we do? Like, well, here's what we can do. Why don't we try this? And it's never going to be perfect. That's the other thing is like you'll never get it perfect. Go find me a perfect city, and
Yeah,
you're not gonna find that.
nothing's
Right?
perfect, right?
Exactly. But it's what kind of city do you want it to be? It's not what I want to be. It's what everybody wants it to be. So that's where we need to be moving to. So,
Yeah, I like that, and I agree with that.
Yep. Absolutely.
So I know the other mayor candidates. So you talked about the third because obviously Blake Jones.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be on tomorrow. He hasn't locked down a time yet, but I was going to try to drop y'all at the same time.
Yeah.
But so the third, is he actually showing up and stuff?
Yeah, he was at the mayoral forum. Yeah, and he's showing up. His plan is to eliminate every director level position and above, and install a strong mayor system. And and as with everybody has good ideas. But if that's where you're going to start by installing yourself as a paid strong mayor, that's not the way Cleburne needs to go.
Yeah.
A paid strong mayor system will lead to corruption. That's great that maybe he would be a fantastic strong mayor. I don't know. It's who comes after him that's looking for just a salary and won't manage right.
I think if you're
Yeah.
a paid politician, that you
different.
have to have term limits.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's the way it should be because you got these
Yeah.
people in Congress that have been in there for
Yeah.
60 years.
Homesteading.
That's crazy.
It's insane. And just strong mayor systems lead to corruption, embezzlement, just abuse of the system. And we don't need that. And it's really hard to get rid of people in a strong mayor system.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, in what we have now, which is, council manager form, it's easy to hold the politicians accountable because they have to be elected every 2 years. And it's easy to hold the city manager accountable. That's probably something I would change is, you asked me what I would change immediately, it's the city manager's actual performance review, geared more toward proactive performance and being out in the community. So Michael's probably like, well, I do that. I'm like, well, yeah. But now you're going to be actually rated on it.
Yeah.
So
makes sense.
Because you're not going to be the only city manager for the rest of Cleburne's history, right? It'll be the same for everyone, and it should be, how are you engaging with citizens? What is how's your customer service level? That's a big deal. That's what I want to see is something like that. And a strong mayor form of government is not something that Cleburne needs. It's just simply not. It's not compatible with where we are or where we're going.
Right on. Well, I'll reach out to him and see if I can get him on too, because I want it to be fair.
Yeah, that'll be a trip. Have fun with that. So he's probably going to be a more interesting interview than me.
Hey,
so.
I will talk to anybody.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, look, just there's, and this is we had a little run in after the mayoral. He said some comments that I didn't appreciate. As I said, I'm going to talk to you about it if you have those comments, no matter where you say it. Right? He apologized, and we shook hands after that. It was a good interaction, and I do believe that he believes that he is doing something right. It's just I disagree, and that's where we'll leave it. We're just going to not agree on that.
Well, that's fine. You don't have to agree with everybody.
And I don't attack people. I attack I always want to be attacked. I don't want to attack people. I want to attack policy, and that's what I don't want people to confuse that. Right? There's really good people out there, and just because everybody's going to disagree on how to handle things. It's just a matter of like, all right, what's the consensus and how do we move forward together?
Mm-hmm.
And, that's another thing is, I can, the new councilman that's going to be in my seat now, really, really good guy. I think he's going to be really good for the city. And, Blake, if I become mayor, then if it's up to me, that mayor pro tem title is not going away. He's doing a wonderful job at that now. And him and I have had a wonderful collaboration together, and we get along great.
Yeah.
And whoever sits in seat 4, same thing. We will move forward together. We're not going to agree on everything, but that's the point, right? Is we're not going to agree on everything, and that's the way government should be. Is that that's government working best for its people. It's new ideas and not groupthink. We need to think on our own.
And I agree with that. And the thing is to get better ideas, you kind of have to you know what I'm saying, flush things out
You do,
and disagree. You know, everybody's like, yeah, you know, that's a great idea. And everybody just agree with everybody, then nothing would ever get done, and there wouldn't be, you know, real any innovation or anything like that. I mean, yeah, I mean, to get better ideas, you need to sit down and talk and hash these things out, and it's just part of it.
The biggest thing for me is you have to have a leader that is receptive to being wrong and saying, okay, yeah, that's probably not going to work. And I've always been that way. If it's not going to work after we prove it out, I'm like, okay, I acquiesce. What will work? Let's get to that point. And that's what you need from a leader is like, hey, admit when you're wrong, be able to work with everybody else and get to something that's going to be beneficial for everybody. That's what we need to get to. But not have their feelings hurt whenever, you know, you hash it out and you don't win. Sometimes you're not going to win everything. That's okay. I've been there.
No,
hey,
100%.
Sometimes I don't win either. Like
I failed at all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, but at the same time, you keep it professional, you keep it cordial, and don't hold a grudge because you were wrong and they, you know, it was proven out, and now you're holding a grudge because you were proven wrong. You don't want to do that. You want to be a good leader. Will make sure that they lead through that and make sure that they do what's best for everybody. So that's what I've always concentrated on.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've been, you know, doing some leadership stuff here lately, and yeah, I agree with you with you there.
Absolutely. You got some. You can't be a toxic leader, man. That's not. You want to be somebody that, like, hey, speaking in front of you. Whenever you're married, you're going to be speaking in front of cameras and everything else. And you want to represent the city well.
Mm-hmm.
Take pride in what you're doing. I've always told everybody this. I don't take myself very seriously, but I take what I do and, you know, serving the city and my job very seriously. And I don't like people to make mockeries of the things that I take seriously.
Mm-hmm.
That will offend me. You can mock me all you want to personally, whatever. I don't care. Don't care about that. You know, you have to answer for your words probably sometimes, right? If you go a little too far. But I take what I do very seriously,
mm-hmm.
and take taking care of people very seriously. And I don't think people kind of understand that sometimes. Like, hey, you know, there comes a point where it's time to do business. It's time to take care of the things that we got to take care of. And I can get a little cranky whenever people aren't like, hey, let's get this done.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's not keep joking and everything. This is a thing we got to get done. It's not something to joke about. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And get it done. So that's where I can get a little cranky sometimes.
Nah,
so
I understand that.
That's me, right? So not always right.
I'm the same way, you know.
Yep.
When it's time to do the work, I'm not much for conversation.
Exactly. It's time to get it done. Right.
Time, let's you know, put the nose to the grindstone and get it done.
Yep. Absolutely.
Say I agree with you there.
Yep.
Man, yeah, with this thing, man, I hope you know, if you have any recommendations, you know, I hope you let people know what I'm trying to do, and just
absolutely.
Just trying to, you know, talk to cool people and let everybody be just a little bit aware of, you know, all the things that these people are doing,
yep.
you know, around here, and I wanted, and it's, you know, just again, to sitting down, I wanted people to get to know you. You know, when I sit down with Blake, I just want them to get to know Blake, and I'll
yep.
reach out to the third candidate too to see if he wants to come, so people can make a nice, good, informed decision. And
yep.
it's not a Facebook post.
Yeah.
You know, this is real human interaction here.
Real people.
You know,
like these are real people behind words. Like, it's what I tell everybody. I am real. I am a person. Here's my house if you want to come see me. Right.
Right.
So I've always said that. And there's people that. So far, there's people come by the house and everything. A couple of people I never met before, which is really cool. But by and large, I haven't had that. But whenever I'm out in public and people see me, they say, hey, I've seen you on Facebook. Oh, it's nice to meet you actually out in public. It's really awesome.
Yeah.
So almost every interaction has been very positive. And that's what I really appreciate, is that, you know, people appreciate someone that answers them, no matter where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, absolutely. But this is, you know, getting out and doing things like this. You can't go to every house. You can knock on a lot of doors, but
right.
you're not going to get to every house. And if there's one thing I would love to see out of this is our turnout rate higher than 4%. So
yeah.
I would like to see that.
Another reason why I kind of wanted to do this too. So, well, just to make sure, you know, people are aware, but
yep.
you know, it kind of started with the school bond vote thing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, because you know what? So it's fine. You can vote however you want. I agree with anybody. Anybody can vote however that they want to vote, and I'm not taking that away from anybody. But you know what really sickened me about the whole thing was 3,500 people showed up to vote,
yeah, it's
and we got
awful turnout.
yeah 38,000 people.
Correct.
So I mean,
Yeah, more than that, because it's ISD vote, so it's everybody else in the
Oh.
ISD too. So it's more
it
than
was even more than
38,000.
that, and 3,500 people voted.
3,500.
And that's
So-
pretty ridiculous
yeah.
in my opinion.
Yep.
Um,
In my first race, it was a 4.68% voter turnout.
yeah, that's crazy to me.
Yeah.
I mean,
just
when,
insane.
Well, when I ran for office,
Oh, that's right. You had it was like 50 people voted total, right?
Yeah,
not even that.
no, yeah, it was 49. I think he got 20, and I had 29.
Yeah,
I mean,
which is
I was
crazy.
like, when I saw those numbers, I was like, whoa.
yeah. That's the apathy that I would love to make a dent in, and that comes back to communication
Yeah.
and making sure people understand that if they feel heard, then they will vote.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some people who are like, oh, well, that's never going to happen. Well, sure, that may be something you think, but I'm going to try.
Yeah.
I'm going to try. I'm going to make sure they're heard. And if anything, what I want people to understand and take away that this is your city. Like, you vote. It's yours. And it's only people that vote are the ones that participate. So the question is do you want to participate?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want your voice heard or not? And the excuse, it's an excuse. The excuse of, well, my vote doesn't matter. No, that's an excuse. Get out and vote. It does matter. I am a prime example of that. I would have been an 8-year councilman if 6 more people would have voted for me.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, and I mean it is important. And again, like I told you before when I first asked you on, you are my second podcast, and my third one's
Yeah.
going to be The Other American. I didn't want to make this about politics, but I felt like it was important.
It is. This is very important. But at the same time, it's important to know that we're people. We have kids, we have lives, we have jobs. The mayor's an unpaid position. It is volunteer. It is very much volunteer. Volunteer my time, my money, and energy to making the city better. That's and taking care of people. That's, if anything else, that's all I want to do is just help people. And that comes from my time in the military. So when you've experienced the things that I've experienced and you've gone through the things I've gone through, the best therapy for that is to help people, is to get out and serve people, to have that purpose. My family is my purpose. And, my wife is the most wonderful human being I've ever met. And she's taking care of me and in so many different ways and making sure that I'm healthy and taken care of. But the way that I get through some of the things that I've experienced is by helping people.
Mm-hmm.
That's the ultimate, hey, if you live for others, you're going to be a better man for it. And I have been. I am a light years better man than I ever was whenever I was 20, 21 years old.
Yeah.
Just some goof. Just 3 or 4 years in the Army, barely knew anything about life or anything like that. But once I figured out, like, hey, helping people is rewarding and gratifying. And
Yeah, it is.
And that's all it's about. And that's all I've wanted to do. That's why I joined Lions Club. That's why I asked if I could be a member of the board, be a member of the Johnson County Food Bank. I just want to help people. That's it. So it's amazing.
It's great, man. Well,
Yep.
Brother, I appreciate you coming on.
I appreciate you. This is fun, man.
Let everybody know how they can get a hold of you. I mean, you're
Yeah,
on
absolutely.
Facebook.
My cell phone number is 719-339-9055. If you want to email me in an official councilman capacity, it's derek.weathers@cleburne.net. If you would like to email my campaign, it's derek.weathers1@gmail.com. And my campaign website is www.cleburne2035.com, which originally the original intention there was it's 10 years away. Now it's 9 years away. So maybe it should have been cleburne2036.com. But either way, that's what it is. And it has, photo gallery, my family, who I am, what I am, and what my intentions are for the city. So, and the whole vision and plan is there. So go visit it. And then, of course, Derek Weathers for Mayor on Facebook. But really, I run it out of my personal Facebook page. So you can PM me on Facebook. You can do any of those things, or you can come by my house, and I'll send you my address if you ever want it. So come see me. Come talk to me. Come give me your opinion. Come yell at me for a few minutes. Just, that's fine. I've been yelled at before. I can take it again. So absolutely. But yeah, that's it.
Well, right on, man. I really appreciate you coming on and spending your time here.
Absolutely.
Just to
Thank you for
talk,
having me.
To talk to an idiot like me.
Hey, man, hey, if you're going to put it that way, it's two idiots talking to each other. Nope. That's a good podcast name.
Right.
There you go, man. Let's go.
Have to change
I like
it.
that. You got to change it. Two idiots talking to each other. So, hey, man, you've been a pleasure. Thank you. This has
you
been
too.
wonderful. Great questions. Really makes people think. And, with your background, it, like, hey, this is something to think about.
Yeah.
So, excellent, man. Thank you
Thank
so
you, sir.
much.
I appreciate you.
All right.
All right. Bye, everybody.
That was amazing. Oh, man.
Wet.
Almost 2 hours.